Chapter 346. 2 boxes of gold coins and valuable things were moved back to the tribe, and the whole tribe entered into a festive state, slaughtering pigs and sheep, singing and dancing. Although there was no concept of a god of wealth here, in the eyes of all the people in the tribe, Charlotte was already a veritable god of wealth. His arrival had lifted the poor tribe of more than 10,000 people out of poverty and turned it into a rich place. $2 million, a large number of gold coins, jade, porcelain, and antique cultural relics. This was simply unimaginable for them, who used to live by selling goats. Everyone was celebrating, but the one who should be the happiest was crying. "You're leaving?" In the room, Siarami looked at Charlotte with tears in her eyes. "What?" Charlotte put his arm around her shoulder and said softly, "I have to go. If the Americans know I'm here, they will come to catch me again. If they dare to come, I'll kill them," Siarami said excitedly. "Didn't you give us a batch of advanced weapons? We have the ability to protect you." Charlotte smiled bitterly and shook his head. "How are you going to defend against the Americans' attack? Their planes will fly over the sky, a few bombs will fall, and your place will turn into a sea of fire. But I can't bear to leave you." Siarami hugged Charlotte's waist tightly, for fear that he would suddenly leave. "Fool, it's not like I won't come back." Charlotte scratched her nose. "I'll come back after I finish my business. Didn't I say that I want to invest in a breeding farm and a farm here?" "You're lying to me." Siarami didn't believe it. "It's very difficult for you to come here, and the Americans still want to catch you. What if you were caught by the Americans in order to see me?" Charlotte was speechless. He said he would come back, but this promise was actually very difficult to fulfill. After all, Afghanistan was the Americans' territory, and it was too dangerous for him to come here. However, apart from this promise, he really couldn't find anything else to comfort Siarami. The time he spent with Siarami was full of happiness, and his back was sore and his legs were weak. It was hard to give up the intimate feelings between them. From his point of view, he was actually quite sad and uncomfortable. "I don't want you to go. If you go, I will never see you again." Shalami felt that Charlotte would never come back. She hugged Charlotte even tighter. Charlotte suddenly thought of an idea, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "How about this? When you miss me, you can come to China to find me. If you think it's too far, we can meet in Pakistan. I could buy a house in Islamabad, and we can meet there." This was equivalent to keeping a mistress in his house. Flying to Pakistan would definitely be much easier than flying to Afghanistan. She could go there anytime. Peshawar seemed to be closer, but the intelligence station of 101 innings was there. He did not want to be discovered by the people of 101 innings that he and Salami were meeting there. "Sound good. If you buy a house in Islamabad, I can sell my goats there." Siarami seemed to be imagining the scene of opening a shop and selling goats in her melon seeds. There was a smile on her face. Siarami was a very easy woman to coax, and this was what Charlotte liked the most. "Forget it. Let's get down to business." Siarami peeled off Charlotte and giggled. "We'll stay up all night tonight." "Ah." Charlotte's jaw almost dropped to the ground. His back was also suffused with a strong sourness. He felt that his 2 kidneys had turned into 2 old sour radishes. Shalami pushed him down and buried her baby face into the ground. She had her own boundless magical power. With a chant, even an earthworm could turn into a fierce snake. The night was dark, but the sheik's room was filled with boundless spring scenery. The warm sun and white snow. There was nothing better than an all-night farewell ceremony and a variety of farewell gestures. However, the next day, Charlotte was helped onto the horse, and he even fell off the horse. In the early morning of the next day, at the Peshawar military base, the helicopter to pick them up had not yet returned. Sherboran, Long Bing, Tang Yuyin, and Tang Buchuan were already waiting on the tarmac. Behind them, a large group of agents from 101 innings stood with guns in their hands, their expressions solemn and cold. In addition to the people from 101 innings, there were also a large number of soldiers on the Pakistani side who were performing guard and escort duties. At the airport, more than a dozen fighter jets from China were on standby. Even the pilots were sitting in the cockpit, ready to take off and attack at any time. Such a lineup was only because the thing that Charlotte wanted to bring back was too important. There was no room for any mistakes. How much longer? Tang Yuyin was somewhat worried. Will they encounter any danger on the way? Sure, Boren frowned. Our satellites have locked onto that area. Once a flying target approaches Charlotte's plane, our fighter jets will attack to intercept it. We've already done this much. What are you still worried about? Tang Yuyin smiled. I'm just worried about the thing that Charlotte wants to bring back. Tang Buchuan leaned against Tang Yuyin and teased, Sister, you're not worried about that kid, are you? Tang Yuyin glared at Tang Buchuan. Is there a brother like you? Be careful that I don't go back and tell Grandpa. Huh? Tang Buchuan laughed. Speaking of Grandpa, I just remembered that Grandpa once said that as long as he could save you, he would accept Charlotte as his last disciple. Tang Yuyin had a strange expression on her face. If Grandpa accepts Charlotte as his last disciple, wouldn't he become our martial uncle? This seniority... No, I don't agree. Tang Buchuan shrugged. I also think it's weird to call him Martial Uncle Charlotte, but no one can stop Grandpa's decision. Long Bing interrupted. I think it's good. You two can call him Martial Uncle Charlotte from now on. My seniority will also be higher. As soon as she said this, Long Bing suddenly realized that she had said something wrong, and then shut her mouth. Sure enough, Tang Buchuan then teased. Really? When will we attend your wedding banquet? Madam Long Bing suddenly blushed. She glared at Tang Buchuan fiercely. I didn't mean that. Old Long, then what did you mean? Tang Yuyin's tone was strange. Long Bing was not good at bickering. Sure, Boren coughed. Be serious, all of you. What nonsense are you talking about? If you're bored, you could go run 10 laps around the airport. The three young people immediately shut their mouths. An armed helicopter appeared in the sky and quickly flew over. They're back, Tang Yuyin said excitedly. Long Bing glanced at Tang Yuyin out of the corner of her eye, and the corners of her mouth slightly curled up. A few minutes later, the helicopter landed on the tarmac. Charlotte jumped out of the helicopter and then walked over to Sir Boren and the others. Where's the thing? Sir Boren greeted him and couldn't wait. Charlotte took off his backpack, opened it, and took out a cloth bag from it. He handed the cloth bag to Sir Boren. There was a bigger cloth bag in the backpack, which almost filled half of the backpack. What's in that bag? Sir Boren asked curiously. Charlotte opened the big cloth bag, which contained dried mutton, dried beef, and some things that he couldn't even name. He said, This is a local specialty given to me by the chief of the White Hun tribe, Shalami. Do you want a piece? You can keep it for yourself. Sir Boren wasn't interested in the dried mutton or beef. After glancing at the contents of the cloth bag, he opened the small cloth bag and looked inside. The big cloth bag contained the jewels and jades taken from Princess Yongmei's jade coffin, which are also the most valuable funerary objects in the entire tomb. Charlotte spent millions of dollars on this mission and took risks several times. He was simply putting his life on the line for this mission. Of course, he had to get some benefits for himself. He was actually not afraid that Sir Boren or Long Bing and the others would find out that he had hidden these things. At worst, he could just say that he wanted to compensate them. However, it was naturally the best if he could hide it, and it would save him a lot of trouble. Tang Yuyin, Tang Buchuan, and Long Bing also came over and looked at the things in Sir Boren's hands. There was a compass, a pointer, and a green ancient alloy. There were also a few gold coins and small jades, as well as the ancient book borrowed from Shalami. That's it. Sir Boren looked at Charlotte. Charlotte said, Of course it's more than that. It's the tomb of a Ming Dynasty princess. I dug up 2 boxes of gold coins, a large number of porcelain, jade, and antique relics. He smiled, But you can't expect me to bring those things out of the White Hun tribe. I only brought the most important things, and the rest are the White Hun tribes. In fact, it's not easy for me to bring these things back. After all, it's their holy land. You did a good job. Sir Boren showed a rare smile. Those things are just money. We don't need them. It's enough that you can bring back the most important things. You have made such a great contribution to the country. When I get back, I will ask the higher-ups to give you a reward. Charlotte smiled. Thank you, boss. Sure. Tang Buchuan came over and patted Charlotte's shoulder. When we get back, come with me to Sichuan. I'll take you to see my grandfather. Okay, I also want to visit old Master Tang. Charlotte agreed very simply. He certainly wouldn't miss the opportunity to learn Tang Sek's unique skills. Where's my gun? Tang Yuyan came over. She didn't see the sniper rifle that Charlotte brought back for her. Charlotte said, I gave the gun to Shalami as a gift. Tang Yuyan suddenly curled her lips. You're really good to her. Xiao Lei smiled and said, it was all thanks to her help that I was able to complete the mission. You know about the former chief, Taya. She doesn't like us and even planned to sell me out to the Americans. Forget it. Let's not talk about the past. Isn't it just a sniper rifle? I'll just modify another one for you when we return. 2. Tang Buchuan stared at Charlotte with hot eyes. Don't forget me. Charlotte smiled and nodded. No problem. Longbing walked up to Charlotte and only said one sentence. It's good that you're back. Charlotte looked at her and nodded with a smile. Between him and her, sometimes there was no need for words. Sherboran put away all the things and said, Okay, let's go to Islamabad and then take a special plane back home. When they went to Islamabad, Charlotte would buy property so that it would be convenient for him to meet Shalami. In the future, flying over a few times a year for a vacation or something would also be a kind of happiness. Of course, he definitely wouldn't tell anyone about this kind of thing. However, for some reason, when he thought of childish face H, Charlotte's waist and eyes became sore and his legs felt a little weak. Is this Shalami syndrome? Chapter 347. A day later, a special plane took off from Islamabad International Airport. On the plane, Sherboran was reading the ancient book that Charlotte had taken from the White Han tribe. Not only did he not understand the ancient book, but he also could not understand the Pashto translation that Charlotte had provided. What does it say? Sherboran looked at Charlotte and asked curiously. Charlotte said, This is the ancient book of the White Han tribe. It records the history of the Han, people, sacrifices, and celebrations. It also has something to do with Princess Yongmei of the Ming Dynasty, but it is not very detailed. I borrowed this book, so I have to return it. Why did you borrow it? Longbing could not help but ask. She was worried about Charlotte's last sentence. Return it. She did not want Charlotte to go to a place like Afghanistan, no matter what the reason was. Charlotte said, This involves people from the Ming Dynasty and the origin of the metal. I want to take the book back to Peaceful. She's an expert in this area. Perhaps she can find some clues. Sherboran said, I will give the book to Peaceful. This mission ends here. Do not ask about anything related to the ancient alloy, and do not get involved. Do you understand? Charlotte was shocked. I thought I was going to find the next treasure spot with you guys. You don't need me anymore? Not at the moment. If I need you, I will let you know. Sherboran did not explain anything. Charlotte's eyebrows furrowed. He was not happy. He really wanted to find out the secret of the ancient alloy. He had sacrificed so much in Afghanistan. He had carried his life in his hands to complete the mission. Now, he had found a new needle, but he had not expected to be excluded. Sherboran looked at Charlotte's face and sighed. Lei, don't be unhappy. This is too important. I can't make the decision. There is a special team in charge. Don't think that I have a lot of people on my side. If the team did not show up, would I be able to move? I'm just an errand boy, just carrying out orders. Hearing Sherboran's words, the resentment in Charlotte's heart dissipated a little. Indeed, the 10 fighter jets at the Peshawar military base, the satellite support, and the submarine that had escaped from South Korea all required a lot of authority to mobilize. Sherboran's authority was not enough. It's fine. Anyway, I've already said that this is my last mission like this. Next time, even if that whatever group comes begging me, I won't go. Charlotte said, You brat. Sherboran smiled bitterly. If it had been Longbing or Tang Yuyan who said these words, he would definitely have scolded them to their faces. But in front of Charlotte, he couldn't get angry. He was just a consultant in name and did not receive a salary. He could say goodbye to him at any time. Godfather, have some tea. Tang Yuyan came over to smooth things over. She handed a cup of tea to Sherboran and then handed a cup to Charlotte. Lei Zi You have a cup of tea too. Thank you. Charlotte took the tea that Tang Yuyan made for him. Sherborin put down the teacup and did not take a sip. He got up and left while saying, Yuyan, you talk to this brat. I'll go sit somewhere else. You two have a good chat. You young people have a lot to talk about. No problem. I promise to complete the chat task, Tang Yuyan said with a smile. Sherborin glared at Tang Yuyan and went to the cockpit. When are you going to my house? Tang Yuyan looked at Charlotte with a smile. Charlotte thought for a moment and said, I'll go after going back to Kyoto to arrange it. It'll only take a few days. All right, then it's settled. Tang Yuyan looked very happy. At this moment, Long Bing walked over and sat down across from the two of them without a trace of politeness. I just received news that Jinjian has come to China, Tang Yuyan said. I know about your operation in Korea. Could it be that Jinjian is here to take back the sword of Attila? Charlotte laughed. If he wants the sword of Attila, I'm afraid he'll have to personally go to the White Han tribe to get it. However, I don't think he has the guts to do so. Long Bing furrowed her brows. Don't underestimate him. Be careful in everything you do. The Yin family is very powerful and cannot be underestimated. Charlotte said, Don't worry. I won't underestimate him, but I won't overestimate him either. This is China, not Korea. I can still hide from him in Korea, but do I still need to hide from him in China? That's true. Long Bing suddenly changed the topic. Aren't you two chatting? Continue chatting. Tang Yuyan looked at Long Bing. There were many things she wanted to talk about with Charlotte, but she couldn't say a single word now. Charlotte didn't say anything either. A person suddenly appeared in his mind. Liang Xiao. After they parted ways in Korea, where was she now? However, at this moment, the plane suddenly shook violently. Tang Yuyan lost her balance and fell onto Charlotte's thigh. She pressed a soft hand on a very sensitive spot. In that instant, Charlotte's entire body tensed up. Fortunately, it was only for a moment. Tang Yuyan got up with a red face and said awkwardly, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. It's fine. Charlotte also felt very awkward. He recalled the scene of Tang Yuyan stitching up the wound on his butt. Compared to that time, what was this accident? However, in front of Long Bing, he couldn't help but feel awkward. Maybe we encountered a strong airflow. Long Bing pretended not to see it and changed the topic. At this moment, the plane shook violently again. This time, it was even more intense. Charlotte was thrown out of his seat and fell on Long Bing's body. Moreover, both his hands were placed on her chest. It was soft and bouncy. The sensation was indescribably good. Charlotte's mouth was wide open. However, it was definitely not because he felt good, but because he was in pain. Just as he fell on Long Bing's body and pressed down on her softness, Long Bing's knee instinctively hit between his legs. Are you okay? Long Bing asked with concern. She also regretted her overreaction. After all, Charlotte didn't do it on purpose. I'm fine. Charlotte returned to his seat with his legs crossed. His face was flushed. The atmosphere between the three of them became awkward. What had just happened was indeed quite baffling. Tang Yuyan pressed on Charlotte's sensitive spot, and Charlotte pressed on the spot where Long Bing was nursing her child. Lord Qi was really mischievous. To think that he would even pull such a prank. Boom! The plane shook for the third time. This time, the vibration was even stronger than the second time. Fortunately, the three of them grabbed onto the armrests of their seats this time. Nothing awkward happened. Fasten your seatbelts. The captain's voice came from the speaker. The captain had just finished speaking, and before the people on the plane could fasten their seatbelts, the plane suddenly became extremely quiet. Then, it suddenly plummeted to the ground. What's going on? Tang Yuyan was so scared that her face turned ashen. I don't know. Long Bing grabbed onto the armrest tightly and tried to fasten her seatbelt. Charlotte was also scared out of his wits. Under such circumstances, any ability or marksmanship would be useless. He suddenly thought of death, and a chill ran down his spine. He had survived a hail of bullets. Was he going to die here? When a person was on the brink of death, they would think of the most important person or event. This phenomenon also occurred to Charlotte. However, he was not thinking of his father, Xia Changhe, or his sister, Xia Shui, or Liang Xiao. Instead, He was thinking of Zhu Xianyue, the Ming dynasty's Princess Yongmei, who was lying in a jade coffin. The plane plummeted from the sky like a meteor. However, in Charlotte's mind, Princess Yongmei was as smooth as jade, beautiful and lifelike. For a moment, Charlotte even felt that she had opened her eyes. That gaze was terrifying. Virum. With a roar, the plane's engine suddenly started. The rapidly descending plane regained its momentum, and its downward momentum finally stopped. Everyone on the plane was so scared that they broke out in a cold sweat. It took a long time for them to recover from the shock. Sherborin walked out of the cockpit. I don't know why, but the plane suddenly lost power. Even the electricity was gone. Fortunately, it recovered by itself. Now, there is no problem. There was also sweat on Sherborin's forehead. It was not difficult to see that he was also scared just now. Why did it suddenly lose power? Longbing came back to her senses. This plane has just been maintained at the airport. All the equipment and circuits have been checked. There is no problem at all. Sherborin said, I don't know. I will check it when I go back. Tang Yuyin touched his arm. Lei, what did you think of just now? Charlotte smiled bitterly and said, I just thought of my sister. I was thinking about what she would do if I died in the plane. By the way, what about you? I won't tell you. Tang Yuyin said playfully. Charlotte looked at Longbing. What did you think of your sister? Longbing said. My sister? Charlotte was stunned on the spot. Why did you think of her? Tang Yuyin also looked at Longbing with a strange look. Longbing's words made her think about it. Longbing said faintly, I was thinking about how I should tell her the news of your death in the plane crash. Charlotte was amused by her. If the plane didn't automatically recover, I guess no one on the plane would have survived. If I died, you would also die. How are you going to tell Xia Shui that I died? Longbing disdained to answer such a question. Tang Yin suddenly stretched out her claws with a ghost face sticking out its tongue. She will turn into a female ghost and tell your sister. Xia Shui, your brother died so miserably. Stop it. He knew it was fake, but Charlotte's reaction was very strong. He felt his back was cold, and his heart was cold. The body of Princess Yongmei that had just disappeared inexplicably appeared in his mind. Boring. Tang Yin put away her ghost face. Charlotte secretly pondered in his heart. Even if you point a gun at my head and ask me to believe that there are ghosts in this world, I won't believe it. But why do I always think of her body? Also, the accident just now, is it related to that piece of ancient alloy? There couldn't be ghosts in this world. If there were billions of people in the world. With such advanced technology, how could they not discover it? It was absolutely ridiculous to implicate Princess Yongmei in the accident just now. However, how could a plane that had just completed maintenance lose power, and even the power disappeared? Finally, it was inexplicably restored. All Charlotte could think of was that piece of ancient alloy. CEO, sure. Can you show me that piece of metal again? Charlotte stood up and tentatively asked. Sherborin looked at Charlotte and said flatly, No, I have made it very clear. You don't have to worry about anything about it. Charlotte shrugged and sat back in a seat. Chapter 348. In the night, a military jeep was driving on the country road. Not far away, the town of Whitestag stood quietly in the night, brightly lit. The Thunderhorse military factory had brought many business opportunities to the town, and it had become prosperous. Longbing bypassed the town and went straight to the gate of the Thunderhorse military factory. Only then did Charlotte find that a sentry box had been added to the gate. A soldier was standing straight in the sentry box, the steel gun in his hand shining, giving off a sense of oppression. The walls were also equipped with electric fences and surveillance cameras. The entire factory was under strict surveillance. I won't go in. Longbing parked the car at the gate. I'll call you another day, and we can have a meal together. Okay, Charlotte agreed with a smile, then took out a paper bag from his trouser pocket and handed it to Longbing. What is it? Longbing asked curiously, holding the paper bag. Charlotte said, I got an accessory from the White Hun tribe. It's for you. You've always taken care of me, and I've wanted to give you a gift for a long time. Longbing smiled, a little embarrassed. You're really treating me like an outsider. Why would you give me a gift for no reason? She opened the paper bag and was stunned. Inside the paper bag was an exquisite necklace with jade beads and a sapphire pendant. Each jade was of the ice type and was crystal clear. The sapphire pendant was set in a heart-shaped gold base, like an elf in the sea, beautiful to the extreme. Such a necklace, apart from its value as a historical relic, would be worth millions of dollars just by counting the value of the jade and sapphire. There was no woman who didn't like jewelry, especially such a beautiful gemstone necklace. Longbing looked at Charlotte and was stunned for a long time before saying, "Why did you give me such an expensive gift?" Charlotte said with a smile, "Didn't I just tell you? You've always taken care of me. What's wrong with me giving you a gift?" "But this is too expensive." Longbing was a little nervous. "If you think it's too expensive, you can return it to me. I'll buy you a diamond one tomorrow." Charlotte stretched out his hand. Longbing grabbed the sapphire necklace in her hand and retracted her hand. "Screw you. Am I the kind of woman who only deserves to wear diamonds in your eyes?" "Charlotte." Longbing took another look at the sapphire necklace before handing it over to Charlotte. Charlotte was stunned for a moment. "You really don't want it?" "Why not? I want what you gave me." Longbing's eyes went straight to the point. "Help me put it on. I want what you gave me." Did she not want what was given to her by others? Charlotte was still pondering over the meaning of this sentence, but Longbing had already lowered her head, exposing her snow-white neck to him. Her neck was slender, delicate. A black elastic band was exposed from the back of the collar, vaguely giving people an ambiguous imagination. The enchanting fragrance wafted out from her hair and her skin, drifting into Xia Lei's nostrils. He was also slightly dazed for a moment, holding the sapphire necklace in his hand and forgetting to put on her. "What are you doing? Put it on for me," Longbing urged. Charlotte came back to his senses. He put the sapphire necklace on Longbing's neck. Longbing looked at it in the rearview mirror. It had to be said that this necklace was really a good match for her. Her temperament was originally cold and elegant, and this sapphire necklace was also a cold color, which made her aura even stronger and added a bit of noble aura. "It really matches you," Charlotte said with a smile. "Tonight, you're the most beautiful you I've ever seen." "Glib, you've said this to other women, haven't you?" Longbing looked at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled and said, "In your eyes, am I the kind of person who deceives women?" Longbing suddenly came over and gave Charlotte a hug. Charlotte stiffened slightly, but before he could move his hand, Longbing let go of him. "Thank you. Get out of the car." Longbing avoided Charlotte's eyes. Her face was a little red. Charlotte got out of the car and said through the window, "I'm leaving. Keep in touch by phone." Longbing turned the car around and drove to the capital. The car ran on the road, but her eyes stayed on the rearview mirror. She didn't look away until Charlotte entered the gate of the Thunder Horse military factory with his backpack. Longbing reached out and touched the sapphire necklace on her neck. A faint smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. There were people working overtime in the workshop of the military factory. It was a busy scene. The workers were working overtime to produce the pistol orders that Sherborne had won. The orders worth tens of millions were for the workers to practice and break in the factory's equipment. Only a boss like Charlotte could fight for such a good thing. Charlotte stood at the door of the workshop for a while. In the end, he didn't go in. He walked around the workshop and went to the villa behind the factory. A window on the second floor of the villa was lit. It was a study. Charlotte's eyes moved slightly, and Anina, who was behind the curtain, came into his sight. She was drawing, and there was a cool sniper rifle on the desk. He remembered the shape of the sniper rifle. It was the design that she perfected for her father. Charlotte's heart moved. "Before I left, it was just a blueprint. I didn't expect that she had already made a prototype gun. She didn't rest at this time. What a workaholic." After entering the villa and going up to the second floor, Charlotte pushed open the door to the study. Anina looked up and saw that it was Charlotte. She cheered and jumped into Charlotte's arms in a pair of slippers. "Lucas, I was just thinking about how great it would be if you came back. I didn't expect you to really appear in front of me." Charlotte gently patted her butt. "Close your eyes." "What?" Anina looked at Charlotte curiously. Charlotte smiled and said, I told you to close your eyes, so close them. Anina closed her eyes. She had the independence and assertiveness that Western women had, but in front of Charlotte, she was a very obedient girl. She was willing to do whatever he said. Charlotte took out a ruby necklace that he had prepared earlier and put it on Anina's neck. Anina opened her eyes and looked at the ruby pendant on her chest. She was so surprised and excited that she couldn't speak for a while. Charlotte grinned. You've worked hard during this period. This is my gift to you. Do you like it? It's beautiful. I like it very much. You're the best. Anina snuggled into Charlotte's arms and gave him a kiss. With a warm and fragrant body, a beautiful woman, and a moist and sweet kiss, Charlotte's fatigue from the journey was soon overwhelmed by the feeling of happiness. He was entangled with Anina. He had already given away 2 pieces of jewelry from Princess Yong Mei's jade coffin. One was given to Long Bing, who had always taken care of him, and the other was given to Anina, who had done a lot for him. He is the kind of man who will treat you better if you treat him well. The wind had stopped and the rain was still. His body was covered in sweat. Anina curled up on the sofa, looking peaceful. Charlotte picked up the sniper rifle on the desk and carefully observed it. I've tested it. It doesn't meet the design requirements at all. Anina said lazily. We need a more advanced machine tool. I also need you to adjust it. Charlotte thought for a moment and said, Tomorrow I will let Haiju's production base process the precision parts. I will also process it here. I will upgrade the machine tool as soon as possible. The sooner the better. There will be a small arms exhibition in Moscow in 3 months. If we can bring our sniper rifle to that exhibition, we may be able to amaze the world and get an international order. Anina's eyes were full of longing. Small arms exhibition in Moscow? Charlotte's heart moved. What kind of small arms exhibition is it? Of course, it's an international exhibition. There will be many small arms exhibitions from many countries. There will also be many businessmen participating. If our sniper rifle can be successfully put into production, it will be an opportunity to make a name for ourselves. Charlotte grinned. Well, then we will work hard for 3 months. We will bring our sniper rifle to Moscow and make a name for ourselves there. We will definitely succeed. Anina climbed up from the sofa and walked towards Charlotte while twisting her sexy little waist. She looked at Charlotte with gentle and burning eyes. Lucas, you're the most powerful mechanic in the world. You are also the most powerful man in the world. Such words would cause a man's testosterone to soar and his masculinity to soar. Charlotte couldn't take it anymore. His Cherami syndrome hadn't recovered, and now it had become Anina's syndrome. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Then, without waiting for the person in the room to respond, the person grabbed the door handle and opened the door. At that moment, Anina exclaimed and hid behind Charlotte. Charlotte also nervously put the sniper rifle in front of him to cover the important position. The person standing at the door was no one else but Qin Xiang. She wore lipstick and smoky makeup. She was also wearing a set of feminine clothes and looked very flirtatious. I'm sorry. Qin Xiang stared at Charlotte. He didn't even bother to look at Anina, who was behind Charlotte. Charlotte glared at Qin Xiang. Why did you suddenly come in? Qin Xiang shrugged. Didn't I knock on the door? Charlotte was speechless. I heard from the guard that you came back, so I came to see you. Qin Xiang smiled. It seems that I came at the wrong time. You guys continue. I will wait for you outside. Charlotte. Qin Xiang was also embarrassed to stare at Charlotte. He left and closed the door. A few minutes later, Charlotte walked out of the study and said, We have to talk. Qin Xiang smiled and said, I know what you want to talk about. Before you came back, someone came here to find me. I didn't sell those things, and I'm not in a hurry to sell them. I hid them well. Charlotte looked at him. Don't do this kind of thing in the future. You almost got into trouble this time. You know, if someone makes a fuss about this matter, I can't protect you. Don't worry. I'm not greedy. This time is enough. Qin Xiang said. Then I'm relieved. Charlotte said, By the way, is my studio built? It has been built a long time ago. It is 10 times better than your studio in Haiju. There are all the tools and equipment you need. Qin Xiang said, Take me there. When building the factory, Charlotte only asked for a studio, but he didn't know where the studio was. Qin Xiang looked back at the study and said in surprise, "You actually want to go to the studio at this time?" Charlotte rolled his eyes at him. "Don't talk nonsense. Take me there." Qin Xiang suddenly giggled. "I understand. Good wine is intoxicating, and drinking too much will hurt the kidneys. A man like you is really unfortunate. Well, I will take you there." Xiaolei really wanted to give him a kick in the butt for this sentence. Chapter 349. He had people, equipment, materials, and funds. This time, Charlotte upgraded the machine much faster than the first time. In addition to modifying the machine, he also modified 3 sniper rifles at the same time. 2 domestic sniper rifles. One was for Tang Yuyin, and the other was for Tang Buchuan. The third rifle was a prototype made by Anina. He wanted to modify it and bring it to Moscow for exhibition. At the same time, he also wanted to meet his own needs. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. In the workshop, Xiaolei and Anina were working on upgrading and modifying a large intelligent machine tool. Both of them were excellent mechanics, and Charlotte was an unlicensed senior electrical engineer. The two of them cooperated very well. It will be finished in half a month. Anina wiped the sweat on her forehead and then used a towel to wipe Charlotte's sweat. She was tall and had long legs. Although she was wearing a blue work uniform, Anina was still so sexy and attractive. The charm of a blue-collar woman was best displayed on her body. Anina's movements were very gentle, and Charlotte smiled at her. His smile was like bait. Anina smelled the sweetness and couldn't help but lean over and kiss his lips. The workers in the workshop quietly looked over. Some covered their mouths and snickered. Some were envious, and some were whispering. But no matter what, no one said anything disrespectful to Charlotte and Anina. During the time Xiaolei had been in the factory, the abilities he had displayed had impressed even the top machinists and electrical engineers hired by the factory, let alone these ordinary employees. "There are people watching, Charlotte was a little embarrassed. Anina smiled. "You Chinese people are so shy. You obviously want to do it, but you don't dare to do it." Charlotte just smiled and didn't discuss the character of Chinese people with her. People from different cultures were always different. Westerners were open, while Chinese people were introverted. Openness had its drawbacks, and introverts had their advantages. In fact, there was no difference between good and bad. At this time, Qin Xiang walked into the workshop and said with her hands on her waist, "What are you looking at? Time to work, time to work." Only then did the workers retract their gazes and continue working. They were all very afraid of Qin Xiang. The workers in the military factory even gave her a nickname in private, Tigress. Anina also separated from Charlotte. Qin Xiang walked over and said, "There's a lounge in the workshop. If you don't like the lounge, you can go to my office. I can keep a lookout for you so that you won't be targeted by these bad boys." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Just say what it is. I'm already immune to your words." Qin Xiang shrugged. "All right, I'll be straightforward. Tang Yuyin is here to see you. She wanted to come along, but I told her to wait for you in your office. I'll go see her now." Charlotte put down the wrench in his hand and left the workshop. Seeing Charlotte walking away, Qin Xiang said with a smile, "Anina, won't you go and have a look?" "Look at what?" Anina used the wrench to twist a screw and asked casually. "Nothing. Let me help you." Qin Xiang rolled up her sleeves and picked up the wrench that Charlotte put down. Anina said, "Sure. Twist each screw 10.5 turns, no more and no less. Not even half a turn off. You Germans are so stubborn." "What did you say?" "Nothing. I bought a new facial mask. Do you want it?" Charlotte came to the office area and walked into his office. Tang Yuyin, who was sitting on the sofa, stood up and looked at Charlotte with a smile. She was wearing a cyan cheongsam. Her figure was graceful. She had phoenix eyes, shapely eyebrows, cherry lips, light blush, and dimples. She was like a lady who had just returned from the misty rain in Jiangnan. She had an indescribable classical beauty. Charlotte praised, "You're so beautiful." Tang Yuyin smiled and said, "I don't buy it." "Then you're really ugly," Charlotte said. "Go to hell." Tang Yuyin rolled her eyes at Charlotte. "Okay, I'll stop joking with you. I know what you're here for. I prepared everything for you." Charlotte walked to the bookcase behind the desk, opened the long cabinet at the bottom and took out two identical sniper rifles. Tang Yuyan had sharp eyes and saw an even cooler sniper rifle in the long cabinet. She didn't ask for Charlotte's permission and took out the sniper rifle herself. Charlotte said, "I can't take that one." "Why?" Tang Yuyan aimed the sniper rifle and took out the magazine. She didn't hide her love for it. Charlotte said, "This is a sample gun from this military factory. I haven't finished modifying it yet." Tang Yuyan said, "Then I'll wait for you to modify it and give it to me." Charlotte said, "I still can't. After modification, I'll take it to Russia to participate in a small arms exhibition. It can surprise our foreign counterparts. If there are no accidents, it can also bring us a lot of orders." "You bastard, you never give me the good stuff." Tang Yuyan looked unhappy. "I treated you in Afghanistan, and it was from that place." Charlotte smiled bitterly and said, "Why do you say that?" Tang Yuyan curled her lips and said, "Do I need to explain?" Long Bing showed off the gift you gave her in front of me. She hasn't even been to Afghanistan, but she received a gift from the White Hun tribe. I risked my life in Afghanistan and didn't even get a hair of thread. It was indecent for a beautiful woman to say that she didn't even get a hair, but adding the word thread made it seem more cultured. "I actually prepared it for you a long time ago." Charlotte opened the drawer, took out a paper bag, and handed it to Tang Yuyan. "You really want to give me a gift?" With the gift in her hand, Tang Yuyan was reserved again. Charlotte smiled and said, "Didn't you say that you risked your life with me in Afghanistan and even sewed my butt? That must be a souvenir. Go to hell. Don't mention your butt again. It's ugly." Although she said that, Tang Yuyan's face was full of smiles. She opened the paper bag anxiously. There was a classic gem in the paper bag. It was beautifully shaped and decorated with rubies and sapphires. As soon as it appeared, it gave people a feeling of wealth and luxury. This was Princess Yongmei's burial item in the jade coffin. Of course, it was not an ordinary item. Tang Yuyan's heart was filled with surprise. She was so excited that she couldn't say anything. Charlotte said, "Put it away. It's yours." Tang Yuyan didn't obediently put it away. She tried the necklace on her neck and struggled for a few minutes before putting it away. She looked at Charlotte and said, "I have been to the White Hun tribe and stayed there for a while. I didn't even see a copper basin. Would those women give you such expensive jewelry?" Charlotte smiled and said, "Then where do you think they came from?" Tang Yuyan smiled slyly and said, "How would I know? You said it came from where it came from." The two of them looked at each other and smiled. As long as they knew where the jewels and accessories came from, it was enough. From Tang Yuyan's point of view, she also knew how much Charlotte had sacrificed. It was actually natural for him to find something in return. "I have modified your gun and tested its performance. It is almost the same as the one I modified for you before." Charlotte changed the topic. "I didn't expect you to be so fast." Tang Yuyan held the unfinished prototype gun and couldn't put it down. "This is a military factory. Of course I'm fast," Charlotte said. Tang Yuyan was finally willing to put down the prototype gun. She said, "I didn't come here to take the gun. I came to ask you to accompany me to see my grandfather." Charlotte frowned and said, "These days I've been busy upgrading the machine tools in the factory to prepare for the production of sniper rifles. Can you wait another 10 days? I know you are busy, so I came to see you now." Tang Yuyan said, "I specially invited my grandfather from Sichuan to the capital. Look at how much face you have. My grandfather arrived in the capital last night. No matter how busy you are, you won't miss half a day, right?" Charlotte couldn't refuse. "Okay, I will go take a shower and change my clothes. I will go with you." The Tang sect in Sichuan was an ancient family that was even more powerful than the Gu family. Grandfather Tang had already lowered himself to come to the capital to see him. If he found an excuse that he was busy, then it would be too arrogant and even unappreciative of favors. Half an hour later, Charlotte sat in a Land Rover driven by Tang Yuyan and followed her to a military compound. On the way, Charlotte learned from Tang Yuyan that most of the Tang family members served in the military, and Grandfather Tang was actually an old soldier who participated in the Liberation War. Moreover, he had a high military position before retiring. He was an extraordinary person. The car stopped. Charlotte got out of the car and followed Tang Yuyin into a tree-lined path. On both sides of the path were small single-family buildings. Although they were very old, they were exquisite and elegant. The whole environment gave people a sense of tranquility and comfort. Although they were in the city, they didn't feel much of the hustle and bustle of the city. People who could live in such an environment were not ordinary people. Does your grandfather really want to accept me as his last disciple? Charlotte knew about this, but his heart was a little uneasy. Tang Yuyin said, although it was the old master who expressed his opinion on this matter, it still depends on your luck. Aren't you very good at coaxing people? When the time comes, you can coax him. If he is happy, maybe it will be done. I will try my best. I want to learn your kung fu, but if I don't succeed, I can accept it. Charlotte's mind was very relaxed. Tang Yuyin pointed to a small building on the side of the path and said, that is my home. Usually my parents and my brother live here, and I live outside. Charlotte looked in the direction she was pointing and saw the small building. He also saw a woman walking over from the other end of the path. When he saw her face clearly, he suddenly frowned. That woman was Gu Qian. Gu Qian was wearing a long black dress and carrying a black handbag. Her figure was mature and attractive, and she had a noble and elegant temperament. She didn't seem to have changed much, but this time, Charlotte felt that she had become deeper, giving people a feeling that he couldn't see through. Gu Qian also saw Charlotte. There was no resentment or hostility in her eyes. She was very calm. There was even a little smile on her lips, as if she was very happy to meet an acquaintance. Why is she here? Charlotte was confused. Chapter 350. Tang Yuyin saw Gu Qian, and her expression was a little strange. Why is she here? Charlotte said, do you know her? Gu Qian, a former socialite in the capital, the beloved daughter of Gu Dingshan. How can I not know her? Tang Yuyin said, in the past, she would occasionally come to this compound to visit some old leaders for her father, and she has also been to my house twice. But in this situation, what is she doing here? Is it to find some connections for her brother? Charlotte said, I'm not sure, but I know that she is now working for Shinatianin. Ah, that's interesting. Tang Yuyin was surprised. Gu Qian walked over slowly, and her eyes stayed on Charlotte. Although she was not a killer, nor was she a hostile agent, Charlotte still raised his vigilance. He quietly awakened the ability of his left eye, and the black dress on Gu Qian's body disappeared silently. She had turned from black to white, except for that part. Her lush hair still gave people an exaggerated feeling. Charlotte originally wanted to see if she had any weapons on her body, but his eyes were fixed on that part of her body, which made him quite speechless. He was not a dirty person, but he was born with a dirty left eye. The three of them quickly approached, and Gu Qian was the first to greet. Yuyin, long time no see. You're getting more and more beautiful. Tang Yuyin smiled. Long time no see. Your mouth is still so good at talking. Thank you. You're also very beautiful. After greeting Tang Yuyin, Gu Qian's eyes moved to Charlotte, and she smiled. Charlotte, we haven't seen each other for a long time. You're still so sunny and handsome. Charlotte had no interest in talking to her, but she greeted him with a smile and said such nice words. If he gave her a cold shoulder, it would seem too ungentlemanly. He also smiled. Men don't rely on their looks to make a living. What's the use of being handsome? Puffed. Tang Yuyin laughed so hard that she held her stomach. Then she hit Charlotte. You're so annoying. Don't make me laugh like that. Xiao Lei had an innocent look on his face. Did I say anything wrong? Tang Yuyin said with a smile, that's right. Go and have your face disfigured. With your face and your current net worth, you're the ideal bachelor in every woman's heart. What's the use of being handsome? Don't you think you're too thick-skinned? Charlotte was just saying it casually, but he didn't expect Tang Yuyin to have such an interpretation. At this moment, Gu Qian said, Charlotte is indeed very good, but he's not as good as in Xiaoxian. Charlotte just smiled and said nothing. This sentence would make many people uncomfortable, but he didn't feel anything at all. Tang Yuyin also looked at Gu Qian, wondering why he would say such unpleasant words. It didn't match Gu Qian's status as a socialite. Gu Qian said again, "Don't misunderstand. I'm just telling the truth." And Xiaoxian is the young director of the Celestial Group and the future successor. He's worth tens of billions. Not only is he very handsome, but he's also very good at making women like him. He has countless ways to pursue girls, and he's very diligent. Xiaolei, you're too lazy. Some time ago, I heard that you went overseas. Now that you've returned, you don't even give Shinatianin a call, let alone chase after her like in Xiaoxian and gain her favor. Charlotte, don't you think you're worse than in Xiaoxian? If this goes on, you'll lose to in Xiaoxian. So, that was what she meant. After returning to China, Charlotte actually thought of calling Shinatianin, but he didn't in the end. First, he was really too busy. He had to prepare for the military factory's production of sniper rifles. Second, he faced a problem. He couldn't explain her what had happened in South Korea, and if he called, she would probably mention it. Their views were different, and they already had too many arguments. He didn't want to argue with her anymore. You don't have to compare me with Xiaoxian. As for Tianin, I'll find her after I return to Haizhu and explain it to her. Charlotte smiled. Also, you don't have to worry about this, do you? There's no need for you to return to Haizhu. Gu Qian said, she's already in Jingdu. She arrived the day before yesterday at the Wanxiang Group's branch in Jingdu, Heaven's Wings building. You and I met here, and I'm just reminding you in passing. What you should do is up to you. But I have to remind you that during the time you were away, and Xiaoxian's pursuit has never stopped. If you continue like this, you'll lose her. No woman liked to ignore her man, let alone a woman of Shintu Tianin's level. She never lacked pursuers, and they were all the most outstanding men. Oh, right? And Xiaoxian also came to Jingdu. Following the Wanxiang Group and Divine Domain Group's cooperation in South Korea, the two companies have a new cooperation project. The two companies are preparing to enter the mobile phone industry, preparing to build a top mobile phone brand comparable to Apple and Samsung, Gu Qian added. Charlotte frowned slightly. Shinatianin was expanding too fast. With this kind of capital expansion speed, does she want to become someone like Bill Gates? Okay, I've said what I need to say. Goodbye, the two of you. Gu Qian politely said goodbye, then brushed past Charlotte, twisting her slender and soft waist as she walked in the direction of the door. Charlotte secretly said in his heart, did this Gu Qian really just happen to pass by? Or did she deliberately come to provoke me to fight with Xiaoxian? It wasn't impossible. Gu Dingshan's death and Gu Kawu's imprisonment were inextricably linked to him. How could Gu Qian forget these things, and specially come to teach him how to pursue women? What are you thinking about? Tang Yuyin used her elbow to nudge Charlotte. Nothing, let's go, Charlotte said. Tang Yuyin smiled and said, don't lie. You must be thinking about that Shinatianin, right? Charlotte was speechless. Tang Yuyin said as they walked, I think what Gu Qian said makes sense. If you like Shinatianin, you should pursue him. You're so lazy, and you don't care what woman can stand it. Women need to be coaxed. Charlotte smiled and said, do you have a boyfriend? You. Why are you asking me this? Tang Yuyin blinked her big bright eyes and stared at Charlotte curiously. Yes or no? No, Charlotte said. You don't even have a boyfriend. Why are you pretending to be a relationship expert? Tang Yuyin rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Humph, a dog bites Lu Dongbin. You don't know what's good for you. The two talked and laughed as they arrived at the Tang family. After entering the door, Charlotte saw Tang Buochuan and Tang Tianlong, father and son, as well as an old man and a woman. The old man was in his 70s, tall, with long silver hair, dressed in a Tang suit, and had an elegant image. The woman looked to be in her 40s. She had delicate features and was still charming. She had an air of nobility about her. Although it was the first time they met, Charlotte also guessed that the old man was Tang Yinhai, and the woman was Tang Yuyin and Tang Buochuan's mother, Zhang Yumei. As for the characteristics and hobbies of these two characters, he had heard about them from Tang Yuyin on the way here. There were far more people in the Tang family in Sichuan, but the people standing in front of Charlotte were the core figures of the Tang family. Tang Yuyin introduced them to Charlotte. Charlotte said politely, hello, Mr. Tang, Uncle Tang, and Zhang. Hello, hello. Zhang Yumei looked at Charlotte with a smile, and her eyes were very interesting. Tang Tianlong nodded to Charlotte as a greeting. Tang Yunhai just quietly looked at Charlotte with sharp eyes, as if he wanted to see through something. Grandpa, Charlotte is greeting you, Tang Yuyan reminded. Tang Yunhai said, did you hear that? Even Charlotte is not in a hurry. Why are you in a hurry? Tang Yuyan's face suddenly turned red, and she rolled her eyes at Tang Yunhai, very dissatisfied. Boy, follow me to the backyard. Tang Yunhai stood up and walked to a door. Charlotte looked at Tang Yuyan with a puzzled look. Tang Yuyan immediately slanted her mouth. Go. Charlotte then followed Tang Yunhai. Tang Tianlong, Zhang Yumei, Tang Buachuan, and Tang Yuyan also followed to the backyard. There was a small garden in the backyard, and in the middle was an open space. The open space was paved with stone slabs, but for some reason, there were many cracks on slabs. Just when Charlotte was sizing up the environment here, Tang Yunhai, who was walking in front, suddenly turned around and threw a punch at him. The old man in his 70s punched fiercely and fast. Even those professional boxers couldn't catch up. What was more frightening was that his fist impressively carried the sound of the wind. Charlotte simply didn't expect Tang Yunhai to attack him. Caught off guard, he hurriedly raised his arm, using his right elbow to block Tang Yunhai's iron fist. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. Charlotte's body suddenly slid back 2 steps before stopping his leg. A burning pain came from his right elbow, which made him extremely surprised. A 70-year-old man actually has such a frightening strength. All of a sudden, Tang Yunhai pressed forward again. His fists and legs generated wind as he launched a fierce attack on Xiaolei. Charlotte countered each move, attacking less and defending more. Although he couldn't gain the upper hand, relying on his left eye's ability to capture fast objects, it was not easy for Tang Yunhai to hit him. But if he didn't use his left eye's ability, with his punching and kicking skills, he simply wasn't Tang Yunhai's opponent. A very obvious gap was, how long had he been practicing martial arts? In less than a year's time, but Tang Yunhai had already immersed himself in martial arts for a lifetime. Tang Yunhai kicked out, which was blocked by Charlotte, but Charlotte was kicked back several steps again. This time, Tang Yunhai didn't attack again. He withdrew his fist and kick, and said with a smile, Yuyan, you little girl, you didn't find me a disciple. You simply found me an opponent. After the fight, Tang Yunhai was secretly surprised by Charlotte's skill, but he didn't know that it was actually because of Charlotte's magical left eye. Tang Yuyan unwillingly said, Grandpa, you said it yourself. Not me. How can you blame me? Tang Tianlong and Zhang Yumei looked at each other. The old couple didn't know what they were communicating with their eyes. Charlotte, on the other hand, politely said, Grandpa Tang is indeed worthy of being a martial arts master. If you didn't let me go, I would have already been lying on the ground. Tang Sek's most powerful skills are hidden weapons and qigong. You didn't use either. My martial arts is far inferior to yours. It can't even be shown in public. Tang Yunhai frowned. There is no second place in literature. There is no first place in martial arts. The strong is strong. The weak is weak. I already know how good your skills are. There is no need to be modest. Charlotte awkwardly said, Grandpa Tang's words are right. Tang Yunhai walked over, forcefully patted Charlotte's shoulder, and said with a smile, But I actually quite like you, Brad. I said, As long as you save my family's Yuyan, I will accept you as my last disciple. This is what I said. I never go back on my words, but if you want to learn my Tang Sek's martial arts, you'll have to enter my Tang family. It depends on your performance. Charlotte, question mark. Chapter 351. Charlotte smiled and said, No, Aunt Zhang is a cheerful person. I like her very much. Tang Yunhai and Zhang Yumei suddenly lost their voices. Her voiceover actually had one point. You are already in your 20s. You're not in a hurry, but your mom is. Charlotte, Tang Tianlong said, Come on, if you have any difficulties, just tell me. You must make a sniper rifle. This is a good thing to win honor for our country. Under the table, Tang Yuyan kicked her mom. Charlotte nodded and said, "That's true. But the mass-produced sniper rifle is probably worse than my handmade one, but it can reach an effective range of 2,500 meters. However, the mass-produced one also has its advantages. That is, it is more automatic, the magazine can reach 10 rounds, and the shooting speed is faster." Tang Yunhai shook his head and said, "I don't know, but my intuition tells me that he has a lot of secrets." Charlotte said, "I want to take our company's sniper rifle to participate in the International Light Weapons Exhibition in Moscow. I don't know who to look for approval. After all, I have never experienced such a thing. So, can you help me ask for approval?" Tang Yuyin looked at Zhang Yumei innocently. Tang Yuyin smiled and said, "What you said makes sense. But if you want to learn, you can come to me. I can teach you some." Tang Yunhai and Zhang Yumei couldn't help but look at each other, and then looked at Tang Tianlong with a puzzled expression. It seemed that there was only one way to become a real member of the Tang family. That was to pursue Tang Yuyin and become the son-in-law of the Tang family. Then, Tang Yuyin would give birth to a big fat boy or something, and then the unique skill of the Tang sect would be in his hands. Tang Yunhai was silent, because it was he who taught this sentence to Tang Tianlong. Tang Tianlong lowered his voice and said, "This kid is very strange. Okay, I can help you with this matter. But you can go to the exhibition, but you must win honor," Tang Tianlong said. "It's a little strange, but as long as he doesn't steal or rob, earns money openly, and serves the country and brings glory to the country. Isn't that good? Is being too outstanding also a shortcoming?" Tang Yunhai had his own opinion. Tang Yunhai glanced at Tang Tianlong beside him and said, "Why don't you speak? You look so serious. Don't you like Charlotte?" Tang Yuyin walked Charlotte out, and the two of them chatted. The Tang sect's martial arts were not taught to outsiders. If one wanted to learn, they had to enter the Tang family. The problem was, how was he going to enter the Tang family? Charlotte felt that he had been tricked, because even if he was an adopted son, he wasn't a real member of the Tang family. Tang Tianlong continued. A year ago, he was just a laborer moving bricks in a construction site. He had to support his sister's education and lived at the bottom of society. However, a year later, his net worth was more than $1 billion, and he had become an indispensable figure in 101 innings. Don't you think it's strange? Tang Yuyin interrupted Zhang Yumei's words. "Mom, your son is a secret agent, and your daughter is also a secret agent. You might as well ask my brother or me." "Don't ask. I'll give you a file later. I'm sure you know everything about him, from the time he went to kindergarten to the present. I won't leave anything behind." By the window on the second floor, the two generations of the Tang family were also whispering. The car arrived at the Heaven's Wings building, and Charlotte got out. Tang Yuyin said goodbye to Charlotte, and then drove away. It didn't matter if he couldn't learn martial arts. Charlotte was not a martial arts fanatic. Before he came to the Tang family, he had such a mentality, and it was the same mentality when he left. "Mr. Xia, who are the people in the family?" Zhang Yumei asked during the meal. The Tang family chef cooked a table of good dishes, and Charlotte also stayed at the Tang family for lunch. Zhang Yumei followed and said, "He hasn't entered the Tang family's door yet. There's no hurry." Tang Tianlong sighed. "I'll tell you the truth. There are people watching him. If he has no problem, that's good. But if he has a problem, it'll be big trouble. Our Tang family has been standing for hundreds of years. Isn't it because we are cautious?" Ha, it's a good point. I like this kid. Just now, I couldn't help but teach him the Tang sect's martial arts." Tang Yunhai laughed very happily. "Kid, I heard that you're very good at modifying guns. The modified sniper rifle can reach a range of more than 3,000 meters. Now you're still producing this kind of sniper rifle in your military factory. Is that true?" Tang Yunhai's focus was different from that of a woman. Charlotte said, "Uncle Tang, I really want to ask you for a favor." Charlotte said, "It's okay. Your family has its own rules. Besides, I actually didn't think about how strong my martial arts would be. After all, it's the era of firearms now. No matter how good my martial arts is, it can't be stronger than a gun, right?" Tang Tianlong stared blankly for a moment and then said, "Tell me, what do you want me to help you with?" Zhang Yumei kicked Tang Yuyin from under the table. Charlotte just smiled and didn't explain. Even he himself couldn't explain the relationship between him and Shinda Tianyin. How could he explain it to Tang Yuyan? Not to mention that it was not necessary at all. Everything about this kid is good except for one thing. He's modest. He's too modest, Tang Yunhai said with a smile. However, Tang Yunhai didn't say it clearly, so Charlotte couldn't guess it. I think Charlotte is good. He started from scratch and has more than 1 billion yuan. He hasn't been married yet. He has a good temper and is handsome. More importantly, he saved our Yu Yan's life. I think he's the one. Zhang Yumei looked at Charlotte's back with a smile. Tang Tianlong smiled bitterly. In his sight, Charlotte and Tang Yuyan had gone far away. Tang Yuyan said, "How can I do that? Let me send you back." "You flatter me, sir." Charlotte was still very polite. Zhang Yumei picked up a piece of roast duck for Charlotte and said with a smile, "Mr. Xia, eat. Eat." Tang Yuyan stuck out her tongue and didn't interrupt. Zhang Yumei rolled her eyes at her daughter and said, "You talk like a tomboy. I'm worried for you. I didn't have the chance to fight with those U.S. Special Forces and CIB agents. Otherwise, I would have killed them." Huh. Tang Yunhai became more and more excited as he spoke. He didn't look like an old man at all, but more like a young man. "You don't need to send me back," Charlotte said. "I can call a car back myself." "Charlotte," Zhang Yumei said, "Tianlong, you said there's something wrong with Charlotte. What's wrong with him? He's such a good man. Why are they watching him?" Charlotte was a little embarrassed and said, "There's only—" Zhang Yumei glared at Tang Yuyan and said, "You're in your 20s. Why are you still acting like a child? Mr. Xia is your savior. How can you investigate him? You're rude." Parents all over the world care about their children. Parents always want their children to find a beautiful girlfriend, get married, and have children. Parents who raise daughters always want their daughters to find the best boyfriend, who is gentle and considerate, successful in his career, and happy for the rest of his life. But children always don't take their parents' painstaking efforts to heart. They always feel that they haven't played enough. Tang Yuyan drove the car to the Heaven's Wings building. She broke the silence in the car. "My mother is a blabbermouth. Don't take what she said to heart." "Oh, why are you being so polite here?" Tang Tianlong pretended to be unhappy. Zhang Yumei snorted. "Forget it. I don't care. You guys worry about your daughter's affairs. It's not easy to find someone who's a good match, and you guys do this again. In the future, if my daughter hasn't married by the age of 30, don't come to me." Charlotte said politely, "Thank you, Annie Zhang. I want to go to the Heaven's Wings building. I've been back for so long, and I didn't even say hello." "It's a bit unreasonable," Charlotte said. Withdrawing his gaze, Charlotte walked to the front hall. "You brat, heh. Tang Yunhai was all smiles. "You brat, you really are an indispensable talent for our country. If the sniper rifle you make can really reach an effective range of 2,500 meters, and it's automatic, it will undoubtedly be the best sniper rifle in the world. Our country will be able to hold our heads high in the field of light weapons. We'll piss off those Western bastards who have blocked our technology. I'm really sorry. I promised to teach you Tang Sek Kung Fu, but I still didn't succeed," Tang Yuyan said somewhat apologetically. Tang Yuyan suddenly understood. "So you're going to see Shinta Tianyin? No problem. Then I can send you there." Then she smiled. "After I send you there, I'll leave. Don't worry, I won't disturb your date." Zhang Yumei rolled her eyes at Tang Yunhai. "Dad, isn't modesty a virtue?" The bottom of the Heaven's Wings building was one piece. It was divided into 2 parts at the waist, and it was slightly slanted. It really looked like a pair of slightly open wings. This building was even better than the Wanxiang building of the Wanxiang Group in Haizhu. "Well, thank you." Charlotte's interest was faint. "Grandpa, Charlotte's modified gun has a range of 3,200 meters. Do you think that's great?" Tang Yuyan said with a smile. "You haven't seen him fight with those U.S. Special Forces and CIB agents. He killed them with 1 shot, and those so-called elite Special Forces and CIB agents were scared witless. They didn't even dare to lift their heads." After a lively meal, Charlotte accompanied Tang Yunhai to drink tea for a while, and then found an excuse to leave. Zhang Yumei interrupted and said, "Yes, Yes, there's no need to be polite here. Just treat this as your own home. The Tang sect in Sichuan was more powerful than the Gu family. Compared to the Tang family, the Gu family was at best a nouveau riche, while the Tang family was an ancient family with hundreds of years of history. Marrying into such a family was almost a good opportunity for many men to reach the sky in one step. They would agree without hesitation, not to mention marrying a beautiful woman like Tang Yuyan. But Charlotte didn't have such thoughts. The Tang family was a rich family, yes, but he himself was a rich family. Zhang Yumei said, "Mr. Xia, how is the company doing now?" Charlotte smiled and said, "That's no problem. I will definitely win glory for the country. Thank you, Uncle Tang." It was not easy to deal with Zhang Yumei, but Tang Yanhai took the baton from Zhang Yumei's hands. Tang Tianlong was silent for a long time before he said, "Don't mention what I'm going to say to you Yin and Buochuan, let alone to outsiders." Chapter 352. No one stopped him when he entered the front hall, but when Charlotte was about to enter the elevator, he was stopped by the building's security guard, who asked Charlotte to show the relevant work ID or invitation card. Charlotte didn't say much to the security guard. He took out his cell phone and was about to call Shinda Tianyin. At this time, a group of people came over, and one of them even greeted him from afar. "Isn't this Mr. Xia?" And Xiaoxian came over with a group of bodyguards with a smile on his face. And Xiaoxian was wearing a white suit, shiny leather shoes, neatly combed hair, and a handsome face. It had to be said that Xiaoxian was really a handsome person. The bodyguards he brought were all in black suits, which served as a foil to him, showing his nobility and extraordinariness. Charlotte just glanced at him and ignored him, being directly ignored, and Xiaoxian was too lazy to pretend to smile and said sarcastically, "Mr. Xia, have you sold all the antiques that you stole from my house? Congratulations, you made a fortune again." Charlotte said coldly, "What did you say?" "Humph." And Xiaoxian snorted coldly, "I said you sold all the things that you stole from my house. I think you must have sold them, and then you couldn't wait to come here and tell Shinda Tianyin that you made a fortune again, didn't you? You want Shinda Tianyin to praise you for doing business, don't you?" "Ha ha ha." And Xiaoxian's group of bodyguards laughed. Charlotte's mouth also showed a trace of a smile. "You probably think that this is Korea, right? In Korea, you're a big shot, but in China, who do you think you are?" And Xiaoxian, "Don't mess with me. This is my last warning." "What did you say?" "China's clown." A bodyguard shouted to Charlotte in Korean, "Do you know who you're talking to?" Another bodyguard waved his hand. "Fool, be careful. I will beat you up." Another bodyguard said arrogantly, "We Koreans don't need to be polite in China. Be ****starred. All right. And Xiaoxian waved her hand. "Don't bother with a thief. This is China. He thinks he's the #1 person in China. Let's give him some face." "Bah!" A bodyguard spat in front of Charlotte. The saliva with some yellow phlegm fell right on Charlotte's shoes. "Ha ha." The Korean bodyguard who spat out the saliva laughed. He did not put Charlotte in his eyes at all. Many people in the front hall had already looked over and were discussing in low voices. "Let's go. Let's let this fool climb the stairs." And Xiaoxian was extremely happy. He didn't expect Charlotte to be so easy to bully. He didn't even talk back until now. But just as Xiaoxian was about to enter the elevator with a group of bodyguards, Charlotte reached out and blocked his way. And Xiaoxian frowned. "You want to fight?" Without waiting for Xiaoxian's order, his bodyguards swarmed up and immediately surrounded Charlotte. That momentum was enough to flatten Charlotte to the ground at any time. Charlotte didn't even look at those bodyguards. He said, "And Xiaoxian, I'll give you 2 choices now. 1, you make your bodyguards kneel down and lick my shoes clean with their tongues. 2, you kneel down and lick my shoes clean with your tongue. What did you say?" "Be ****starred." And Xiaoxian was angry. Charlotte said, "And Xiaoxian, do you think I won't dare to touch you because your father is a political figure in South Korea and may even become the president of South Korea? Or do you think I won't dare to touch you because you have tens of billions of yuan?" And Xiaoxian raised his brows. "Try and touch me. As soon as he said that, Xiaolei slapped Xiaoxian squarely on the right side of her face. His speed was so fast that Xiaoxian didn't even have the time to think about dodging, let alone make a move to dodge or block. You slap. Charlotte slapped Xiaoxian's left cheek again. He didn't show any mercy, and Xiaoxian's handsome face immediately swelled up. The two slaps took less than 2 seconds from start to finish, and Xiaoxian's group of bodyguards only came back to their senses after Charlotte finished slapping her. They then threw a flurry of punches at Charlotte. Xiaolei sent Xiaoxian flying with a kick. Then, using the recoil from Xiaoxian's body, he somersaulted high into the air and kicked the head of a bodyguard who was sneaking up on him from behind. Bam! A muffled sound was heard as the bodyguard was whipped and fell to the ground. As soon as Charlotte landed, he was immediately surrounded by Xiaoxian's bodyguards. Beat him to death. And Xiaoxian covered his burning cheeks. He was so angry that he almost went crazy. Since when was a South Korean's top young master beaten like this? Charlotte was surrounded and beaten up, but it was just an illusion. In the blink of an eye, Xiaoxian's group of bodyguards were beaten to the ground. Some of them had bruises on their faces, and some were lying on the ground. What are you doing? Stop. A manager rushed up with a group of security guards and blocked between Charlotte and Xiaoxian's group. Xiaoxian roared, "A bunch of trash attack." A bodyguard with a pair of panda eyes quietly took out a small hunting knife with his hands behind his back. While the security guard was blocking Xiaolei, he quietly approached Xiaolei's back. "What do you think this place is?" The manager angrily said, "If you have a conflict, go out and solve it. Otherwise, I will call the police." And Xiaoxian angrily said, "Don't you know who I am? Look carefully, bastard." He pointed at Charlotte and roared, "He must kneel down and apologize to me. Mister, and I'm sorry. The manager recognized Xiaoxian, and his attitude changed. It was no wonder that he didn't recognize Xiaoxian at first, because Xiaoxian was much fatter than usual. "Then why aren't you getting lost?" Xiaoxian roared. At this time, the bodyguard with the knife in his hand suddenly stabbed at the back of Charlotte's waist. Charlotte seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. He moved sideways and avoided the hunting knife. At the same time, his right elbow fiercely hit the bodyguard's chest. Ding! The hunting knife in the bodyguard's hand suddenly fell to the ground. He covered his chest and squatted on the ground. But before he could squat down, Xiaolei's right elbow smashed behind him and hit him hard on the bridge of his nose. In an instant, blood gushed out from his nose like a fountain. Charlotte definitely didn't have eyes on the back of his head, and he definitely didn't have the ability to hear the sound to determine the location. It was just that his eyes saw a reflection on a gold-plated pillar 20 meters away. From the beginning, when the bodyguard sneakily approached him, he had already noticed it. How could he be plotted against? After knocking down the bodyguard who sneakily attacked him, Charlotte rushed forward and kicked Xiaoxian's chest. Xiaoxian screamed and fell heavily to the ground. Although Xiaoxian was the Korean amateur fencing champion, how could such a playboy compare with Charlotte, who had experienced hundreds of battles? What's more, that so-called swordsmanship was like a child's game in Charlotte's eyes. Charlotte stepped on Xiaoxian's chest and looked down at Xiaoxian. You will regret it." Xiaoxian was shocked and angry at the same time. There was also a fear in his heart that he didn't want to admit. Regret. Charlotte's mouth showed a trace of contempt. "I'm stepping on you now. Are you going to bite me?" "You." Xiaoxian was so angry that he couldn't speak. In Korea, let alone someone stepping on his foot, even if someone accidentally stepped on his foot, they would quickly apologize to him. But in China, he actually suffered such humiliation. "Ah!" A bodyguard who was still standing suddenly screamed and rushed toward Charlotte. In his hand was the hunting knife that was hit to the ground. Charlotte dodged sideways and punched the bodyguard's ribs. The bodyguard's ribs were broken. The bodyguard screamed and fell to the ground. The sound made the onlookers couldn't help but frown. Xiaoxian wanted to get up, but in the next second, Charlotte's foot stepped on his chest and pushed him down again. "Bastard, how dare you do this to me?" Xiaoxian was really going crazy. Charlotte sneered and said, "I just said it very clearly. Either your bodyguard kneel down and lick my shoes clean, or you kneel down and lick my shoes clean. If you don't make a choice, I will acquiesce to the second choice. And Xiaoxian clenched his teeth. He would kneel down and lick Charlotte's shoes, even if he died. But even if he let his men lick Charlotte's shoes, it was a great insult for a person like him. It was unacceptable. It seems that you acquiesced to the second choice. Charlotte stretched out the shoes that were still sticky with phlegm towards Xiaoxian's cheek. Damn it, I'm going to kill you. And Xiaoxian lost control. Sir, calm down. The manager rushed up and hugged Charlotte's feet. And Xiaoxian took the opportunity to roll away from Xia Lei's feet and scrambled to escape to a place further away. A group of injured bodyguards also gathered around Xiaoxian and stood in front of her. Charlotte still wanted to go over, but the manager whispered to Charlotte, Mr. Xia, just now our chairman asked me to invite you up. Please don't make things difficult for us. Please, for the sake of so many security guards and our jobs, let it go. Only then did Xia Lei calm down. He nodded. The manager then wiped the stains on Charlotte's shoes with a tissue. Thank you. Charlotte turned and walked to the elevator. The security guard who blocked the road just now had already moved far away, for fear that Charlotte would recognize him. Charlotte, this is not over. And Xiaoxian roared at Charlotte. Charlotte stepped out of the elevator, but before he took the second step, and Xiaoxian turned and ran out of the building. A few of the injured bodyguards also shivered, and one of the more timid ones even fell to the ground due to panic. Charlotte smiled. And Xiaoxian, don't make a fool of yourself here. Go back to Korea. After a pause, he added, I'll give you another sentence. Don't mess with me in China, or I'll beat you up every time I see you. This sentence made the whole hall silent. The elevator door closed, and Charlotte disappeared from everyone's sight. In fact, the reason why he couldn't tolerate it at all this time and hit so hard was because he and Xiaoxian had a feud in Korea. Thinking back to the time when Xiaoxian surrounded him in the cafe with the Korean police and the family's bodyguards, he couldn't help but be angry. This was China, and Xiaoxian didn't know the difference between home and away. She was courting death by sending herself to his door. Just as the onlookers dispersed, Gu Qian walked out of a corridor next to the front hall. Looking at Xiaoxian, who was leaving in a sorry state, an intriguing smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Well, she's really iron-blooded. A good show is about to begin, right? I'm really looking forward to it. Chapter 353. Someone brought Charlotte to the door of Shintu Tianin's office. Fu Mingmei stood there and rolled her eyes at Charlotte. Charlotte knew what she wanted to say. He shrugged innocently. You didn't even call. Fu Mingmei complained in a low voice. I was kind enough to remind you. Charlotte smiled and said, I'm here now, aren't I? If I come in person, it will be more sincere than calling. Fu Mingmei glared at Charlotte. Hurry up and go in. Coax her. Then, she opened the door for Charlotte. Charlotte walked in. It was a luxurious office. It was still the same cold color, exuding a cold and serious aura everywhere. Shinta Tianin was sitting at her desk, looking at a white Apple monitor. When Charlotte entered the door, she looked up, then smiled and waved at Charlotte, motioning him to come over. Charlotte was worried that she would be unhappy and have a little temper, but he didn't expect her to be so calm and smile. He didn't know why, but he relaxed a little. He walked over, braced himself, and said, Tianin, I'm really sorry. Some time ago, Tianin raised a finger to his lips, motioning him not to speak. Charlotte thought she was in a video conference, but when he walked over to Tianin, he found that she was watching the video of him beating up Xiaoxian and stepping on her. Tianin said with a smile, I've watched it 3 times. Xia Lei was stunned for a moment. This was the Heaven's Wings building, the headquarters of the Wanxiang Group in the capital. Tianin must have received the report about what happened in the front hall of the building and was watching it through the surveillance system. It was actually very easy for her to stop the incident, but she didn't do so. Instead, she watched it here, and she watched it 3 times. He cannot read her mind. Have a seat. I'll get you a drink. Shinta Tianyin got up and walked to the wine cabinet. Charlotte sat on the sofa and watched as Shinta Tianyin poured wine for him. His heart was very strange about her attitude today, but he did not ask. Shinta Tianyin brought 2 glasses of red wine over. She gave one to Charlotte and the other to herself. Then she clinked glasses with Charlotte and said with a smile, "Cheers to our reunion." "Reunion?" Charlotte laughed. "Why do you say that?" Shinta Tianyin sat opposite Charlotte. She drank the red wine in her glass and stared at Charlotte. "All right, for our reunion." Charlotte also drank the red wine in his glass. Only then did Shinta Tianyin say, "Do you know why I didn't stop what happened in the front hall?" Charlotte shook his head. He could guess what many people were thinking, but it was difficult to guess what Shinta Tianyin was thinking. "In Korea, he made things difficult for you, and he didn't even give me face in the hotel cafe. He's such an arrogant person. Only a man like you can teach him a lesson." A faint smile appeared on Shinta Tianyin's lips. That was so satisfying. Otherwise, I wouldn't have watched it 3 times. "You hate him? Then why are you still working with him on the cell phone project?" "Business is business. Besides, I wasn't the one who hit him." Shinta Tianyin was indeed an extremely intelligent woman. No one could find the slightest flaw in her words and actions. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "At first, I was worried about your cooperation with the God Domain Corporation. Now it seems that my worries were unnecessary." "Why do you say that? When it comes to business, you're better than me. I was worried that you'd been cheated by the God Domain Corporation, but I just realized that I should be worried about Inshuoxian." Charlotte said. Back then, a woman carried the Wanxiang Corporation forward in the face of adversity. Today, all of her opponents had fallen, but she still carried the Wanxiang Corporation forward, and its scale had expanded by 1/3. Was there a need for him to worry about such a woman being cheated by someone? "You saw through it?" Charlotte said, "You have a cooperation project with the God Domain Corporation in Korea, but you can't control it. So, you set up a cell phone cooperation project. You can control this project in China, but the God Domain Corporation can't." And Xiaoxian is far from being as smart and cautious as her father. The one who benefits the most from this project is definitely the Wanxiang Corporation, not the God Domain Corporation. Is that so? Shinta Tianyin smiled. "The person who understands me the most is still you." Charlotte suddenly felt that in front of Shinta Tianyin, his little experience in the business world was as pale as a piece of white paper. His ability in the business world was actually far inferior to his ability on the battlefield. At this time, Shinta Tianyin sighed softly. "Lei, I don't care what others think of me. I only care about what you think of me. I don't hide anything from you, but you don't understand me. I really want to understand you, but you're always avoiding me. You have too many secrets. They're like the haze of the capital, and I can't see you clearly." Did she know something? Charlotte's heart stirred, but his face didn't change as he said, "What do you want to say?" Shinta Tianyin said, "Didn't you just ask me why I said we're reuniting?" "I'll return to your question now." Charlotte smiled, waiting for her answer. Shinta Tianyin dipped his finger in the red wine in the glass, and then wrote 3 numbers on the coffee table. 101. Charlotte was stunned on the spot. Then he thought of Gu Qian. If he guessed correctly, Shinta Tianyin should know about the existence of 101 innings through Gu Qian. "I never thought you would be an agent of our country," Shinta Tianyin said. "I only now know that you have such a special identity, which also solve a lot of puzzles in my heart. I guess after you came back from Korea, you suddenly disappeared for a period of time. You must have gone on a mission, right?" Charlotte nodded. She already knew about the existence of 101 innings and his other identity, so there was no need to hide it anymore. That's why I said that our meeting this time is a reunion. I feel that I really understand you now. This feeling is like the feeling I had when I first met you. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Gu Qian told you that, right? Shinta Tianyin did not say yes, nor did he say no. Charlotte said again, "There are some things that I don't want to hide from you on purpose, but the less you know, the better." Shinta Tianyin smiled. "I know. I've heard a lot of such lines in many Hollywood spy movies. Let me tell you a secret. When I was young, my dream was not to be an entrepreneur, but to be a female agent, a very powerful one, just like the female agent played by Angelina Jolie in Special Agent Salt. Charlotte thought of the agents who died on 101 innings in Afghanistan. Believe me, you won't like that kind of life, really. Shinta Tianyin curled her lips. I knew you would say that. This was a playful little gesture, but also showed her gentle and lovely side as a woman. She naturally sat opposite him. She had a beautiful face and a slender and graceful figure. Her tender eyes, her sexy, as if they were all a language. Charlotte suddenly had a strange feeling. This feeling was like the first time he saw her. She was like a fairy who had walked out of a painting, otherworldly and unattainable, but tempting to get close to and fantasize about her. The two of them inexplicably became quiet. Their eyes met, and there was a tender look in their eyes. All the misunderstandings and guesses in the past had disappeared. Looking at Shinta Tianyin's fresh and tender red lips, Charlotte suddenly had an urge to kiss them. After all, she was the goddess he had fantasized about for a long time, and he had even started a family with her in his dreams. The desire to have her had never been buried deep in his heart. At this time, it seemed to have awakened again, which was why he had such an urge. They looked at each other for a full 2 minutes. I will pour you some wine. Shinta Tianyin was a woman after all, and she was a little more shallow. She avoided Charlotte's gaze and went to get a glass of wine. Let me do it. Charlotte also got up to get a glass of wine. The two of them actually grabbed the wine bottle at the same time, and their hands overlapped. At this moment, the two of them felt as if they had been electrocuted. It was very subtle. However, what was even more subtle was that the two of them did not let go. Their gazes intertwined once again, and there was a tender look in their eyes. Finally, the two of their heads slowly moved closer to each other. Inch by inch, the office door suddenly opened, and Fu Mingmei appeared at the door. In the office, Shinta Tianyin and Charlotte's lips were almost touching, and there was only a distance of 2 or 3 centimeters between them. However, they could not break through such a small distance. Shinta Tianyin immediately shrank back, and her face was red. What is it? Charlotte was also very embarrassed, and he pretended to pour the wine. Uh-huh. Fu Mingmei had a smile on her face. I'm sorry, I didn't disturb you, did I? Shinta Tianyin glared at Fu Mingmei. Fu Mingmei's expression turned serious. It's like this. The head of the security department said that the police are here to investigate the situation. Well, it seems that there are people from the Korean consulate. Shinta Tianyin frowned. Isn't Xiaoxian trying to blow the matter up and escalate it to an international dispute? Fu Mingmei spread her hands. I don't know about that. What do they think this place is? Stop them, Shinta Tianyin said. Okay, I'll go now. Fu Mingmei turned around and left. However, before Fu Mingmei could go out, Gu Qian appeared at the door, blocking Fu Mingmei's way. She went straight to the point. You can't handle it like this. Charlotte was not surprised to see Gu Qian here. He looked at her and guessed her current status in the Wanxiang group. Fu Mingmei said unhappily, Assistant Gu, don't tell me you have any other ideas? It turned out that Gu Qian was now Shinta Tianyin's assistant. This surprised Charlotte a little. Qian, tell me, Shinta Tianyin said. Gu Qian said, Mr. Xia did injure someone, and more than one. And Xiaoxian's father is a veteran politician in Korea, and he is very powerful. Now that the people from the Korean consulate are here, they must want to take Mr. Xia back to the police station for investigation. If we stop them, we will also become the target of criticism, and it may even incur Jinjin's revenge. That's not wise. Shinta Tianyin looked at Charlotte. She was in a dilemma. Charlotte said, I'll go with them. Don't worry, they can't do anything to me. Shinta Tianyin said, then I'll go with you to the police station. Gu Qian said, you can't handle it like this. Charlotte and Shinta Tianyin's eyes focused on Gu Qian. Gu Qian said, if the people from the Korean consulate come forward, things will definitely develop to a higher level. The wisest thing to do is for Mr. Xia to secretly leave and return to your military factory. There are military secrets there, and there are strict martial law measures. If a Korean goes there, the military will be the first to object. Charlotte suddenly smiled. He felt that after losing his father and brother's wings, Gu Qian had become mature and smarter. Although he was smiling, his heart was heavy. Chapter 354. The moment Charlotte returned to the Thunder Horse military factory, the people from the South Korean embassy rushed over. There were several people in the group, both civil and military officials. There was also a large group of police officers in charge of this case. There was also a black Hyundai sedan accompanying them, but this car was only parked on the road beside the gate, and the door was not even opened. And Xiaoxian was sitting in this black modern car, her expression extremely cold. Other than the driver, there were two other Koreans in the car, a man and a woman. The man was in his early 30s and had a strong body. The woman looked to be in her 20s. She had a voluptuous figure and a graceful appearance. She belonged to the type of beautiful woman who was very eye-catching. The two of them were expressionless, and their eyes were ruthless. The aura they exuded was completely different from that of ordinary people, giving off a very sinister feeling. The man was called Cha Gu-ri, and the woman was called Kim Ji-yeon. They were both from the Yin family who specialized in dirty work. Just like Dong-woo, Chin-chi, and Danny of the Gu family. This time, On Soo-hyun was truly enraged. That was why she brought Cha Gu-ri and Kim Ji-yeon along. In the car, and Xiaoxian watched through the window as the people from the South Korean embassy negotiated with the soldiers at the gate. However, they did not get permission to enter and search. He couldn't control his anger anymore. Damn it, how much longer do we need? The people from our Korean consulate are here, but those two soldiers are not letting us through. Sometimes, when national pride swelled to a certain extent, it was no longer pride, but arrogance. After a few more minutes, the situation at the entrance of the military factory was still the same. Not only did the people from the Korean consulate not get permission to enter, but the number of soldiers had actually increased. "Looks like we can't get in," Che Guli said gloomily. "That China kid is really cunning." It was Kim Ji-yeon's voice. Her voice was very gentle and coquettish. Just her voice alone was very alluring. And Xiaoxian pushed open the car door. "Let's go down and take a look. I don't believe that the consul of Korea and the police can't even enter the door." Cha Gu-ri and Kim Ji-yeon looked at each other before getting out of the car and following on Zayu-hyun to the entrance of the Thunder Horse military factory. And Xiaoxian's face was no longer swollen, but there were still some traces. Cha Gu-ri and Kim Ji-yeon followed behind him, one on the left and one on the right. One was tall and burly, while the other was petite and exquisite. It was a picture of masculinity and femininity. It was especially so for Kim Ji-yeon's perky buttocks, which were wrapped in a black miniskirt. They were plump and bulging, giving off a sexy and alluring feeling. Many men liked this kind of woman because they could easily hold her in their arms and do whatever they wanted. "What's going on?" As soon as they reached the door, and Xiaoxian got angry. "Why won't you let us in?" One of the soldiers said seriously, "What do you think this place is?" This was a military factory with military secrets. "If it weren't for the fact that you're from the South Korean consulate, we would have detained you long ago." A police officer said, "Yes, I told you long ago that this is not an ordinary place. We don't have the authority to enter. I think we should go back first." "Go back? Our people were beaten up. Are we going to let it go just like that?" The South Korean consul said angrily. When Xiaoxian wasn't here, he didn't have this kind of attitude. When Xiaoxian came, he became imposing. This was also a way to curry favor with Xiaoxian. The leading police officer was good-tempered and didn't get angry at all. He said with a smile, "Well, you continue to negotiate. We'll go first." "You." The South Korean consul was angry on the spot. These policemen received a report and came to arrest Charlotte. In fact, it was just a formality. Whoever took it seriously would be a fool. "I'm telling you, if you don't hand over Charlotte today, we will lodge a protest to your Ministry of Foreign Affairs through the embassy." And Xiaoxian was angry. The leading police officer and several policemen pretended not to hear it. One of the fat men was still on the phone with his wife, asking her to make Leek's stuffed dumplings. At this time, a man in colorful clothes rode a self-balancing car to the door. It was the tigress of the Thunder Horse military factory, Chin Seong. Anyone who saw him for the first time would treat him as a woman, the kind of woman who wanted to have a one-night stand. What's going on? Qin Xiang stopped the self-balancing car and said in a shrill voice, "What do these people want?" One of the soldiers briefly explained the situation. Qin Xiang put one hand on her waist and pointed at Xiaoxian with the other. "I thought it was something serious. Turns out you were beaten up and are here to ask for medical fees. Name a price. How much do you want? How dare you?" And Xiaoxian was instantly enraged. "Am I, and Xiaoxian, someone who wants medical fees? Be asterisk starred. Be asterisk starred. Who are you scolding?" Qin Xiang spoke very quickly. "I'm telling you, go back to where you came from. What do you think this place is? It's not a place where you Koreans can behave atrociously." The South Korean consul was also provoked and said angrily, "Get Charlotte to come out and assist in the investigation. Otherwise, I will lodge a protest to your Ministry of Foreign Affairs." Qin Xiang waved her hand. Go, go. Don't mention the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You can even go to the United Nations to protest. You?" The South Korean consul was also so angry that he couldn't speak. He had always felt good about himself and was superior to others. When had he ever been ignored like this? "Come out." Che Gully pointed at Qin Xiang and said with a cold look in his eyes. Qin Xiang pursed her lips and smiled. "What are you talking about? I don't understand. Come out and let's talk." This time, it was Kim Ji-yeon who spoke. She had a smile on her face and looked very gentle and kind. But if one looked closely at her eyes, one could see a trace of cold, murderous intent. Che Gully spoke in Korean, while Kim Ji-yeon spoke in Mandarin. Qin Xiang could clearly hear them. These two Koreans were provoking him, and they were doing it in his territory. Anger suddenly rose in his heart. He jumped off the self-balancing car and walked to the door. "Come back." Charlotte finally appeared. He was wearing a work uniform and a pair of labor gloves. He looked like a blue-collar technician. Seeing Charlotte appear, and Xiaoxian's eyes were about to spit fire. Che Gully and Kim Ji-yeon's eyes focused on Charlotte. Their eyes seemed to be memorizing all of Charlotte's characteristics. Charlotte slowly walked to the door. His gaze swept across the people outside and finally looked at Xiaoxian. "Xiaoxian, why did you bring people here? I said that this matter will not end here. You have to give me an explanation." "What explanation do you want? My request is not high." And Xiaoxian sneered. "Just kneel down and apologize. Or else, I will make this matter so big that you won't be able to bear it." "Are you talking about protesting?" Xiao Lei smiled. "You can go now. You can go wherever you want to protest. You can find whoever you want to find. If you can't find a way, I can also send someone to lead the way for you." And Xiaoxian turned to the few policemen who came to watch and said angrily, "What's wrong with you? The suspect is right in front of you. What are you waiting for instead of arresting him?" The leading police officer said, "He has to come out first. We don't have the authority to go in if he is inside." "Bastard, what are you doing? Are you still policemen?" And Xiaoxian couldn't help but curse. The leading police officer immediately became angry. "Who are you calling bastards? Who do you think you are? Do we have to listen to you? What the hell? You?" And Xiaoxian pointed at the police officer's nose. She was so angry that she couldn't say anything. "It's a public security case. We are already giving you face by coming here to investigate. You actually dare to curse us? Fine, settle it yourselves. Let's go." The leading police officer really didn't give them any face and left. The few policemen didn't want to waste any more time here. They quickly left with the leading police officer. In the blink of an eye, there were only a few Koreans left at the door. The few Koreans couldn't keep their faces, and their mood was extremely bad. In their view, it was natural for them to bring Charlotte away for investigation, and there wouldn't be any trouble. After all, there would be reports on the internet about foreigners losing their bicycles and the police finding them within a few hours. There would also be news about foreigners losing their protective shield and the police finding the shield after rummaging through a few tons of trash. But here, how did the police become bystanders? Not only did they not do anything, but they even insulted others. Charlotte smiled. "And Xiaoxian, if I were you, I would pretend that this never happened. Furthermore, I will learn to be obedient and not do things that I don't have the ability to do. You won't be arrogant for long." And Xiaoxian said hatefully. The South Korean consul beside Xiaoxian took out his phone and looked at Charlotte. He seemed to be using his eyes to tell Charlotte that he wanted to call someone. Charlotte lightly said, "If you want to make a call, then make a call. If you need to protest, then protest. I heard that South Koreans care a lot about their reputation, but I wonder if your reputation will fall to the ground after this matter is reported by the media. I did beat someone up, but this is just a public security case. Even if you guys blow this matter up, I'll only pay some medical fees or be detained for 20 hours. You guys can deal with it yourselves, and I can't be bothered with you guys. Boring." When he finished, he turned around and left. Qin Xiang boarded his self-balancing vehicle, but he gave Xiaoxian a middle finger before he left. "Fuck!" And Xiaoxian dashed towards the door. "Stop right there." A soldier raised a rifle in his hand and pointed it at Xiaoxian. And Xiaoxian immediately stopped in his tracks and did not dare to take another step forward. At this moment, Xiaoxian felt like his lungs were about to explode. He had originally come to find trouble with Xiaolei, but he did not expect that this operation, which involved a large number of people, would end up humiliating himself instead. Looking at Charlotte's back, Xiaoxian gnashed his teeth, and his eyes were terrifyingly cold. "Young master, let's go," Che Guli said in Korean. "This is a place under military control, and we can't do anything to him. We can only make a move after he comes out. I want him dead." And Xiaoxian also said in Korean. Moving closer to Xiaoxian's ear, Kim Ji-yun said in a sweet voice, "He won't be able to live, but we have plenty of opportunities." And Xiaoxian seemed to believe in Che Guli and Kim Ji-yun's strength as a sneer rose on his lips. "Let's go." This farce came to an end for the time being. Chapter 355. In the end, Xiaoxian didn't escalate the matter to the level of an international dispute. Even if he had the strength, he couldn't afford to lose that much face. On this point, Charlotte knew exactly what he was thinking. What's more, even if he made a big deal out of it, it would at most be a public security case involving a brawl. With his identity, 101 innings would naturally settle things for him. Xiaolei didn't regret this at all. Putting aside the conflict between the two of them, Xiaoxian had already become his enemy in the truest sense of the word, not just a love rival who was chasing after a woman. Xiaolei didn't regret it all. Instead, Xiaoxian had become his enemy in the truest sense of the word. The following time was calm and peaceful, and Xiaoxian and the people from the Korean consulate didn't come looking for trouble again. Charlotte also spent his time and energy on upgrading the machine tools. During this time, Shinta Tianyin didn't call, and he didn't call her either. The unfinished kiss that happened in the office of the Heaven's Wings building seemed to be just a momentary impulse and a bit out of control. After he calmed down, he felt that it was nothing. Sometimes he would quietly ask himself if he and Shinta Tianyin would become a couple and then get married and have children. There were two possibilities. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. If he and Shinta Tianyin were together, then he would definitely break up with Anina, and he wouldn't go to Islamabad or Afghanistan to meet with Sharami. He was never the kind of man who had a foot in multiple boats and went around flirting. Sharami's appearance was just an accident, and that was to complete the mission. As for Anina, he just couldn't bear to let her get hurt again. So, until now, he actually didn't have an official girlfriend who he wanted to marry and have children with. In the end, he simply didn't think about these things and let the relationship take its course. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. In this month, Charlotte and Anina upgraded all the machine tools in the Lei Majian factory, and the level was completely comparable to the smart machine tools Charlotte copied in Lima Manufacturing Company. The machine tools were in place, and several production lines in the Lei Majian factory were also running. Not only the production hands, but also the production of sniper rifles and supporting ammunition. On the third day of the Lei Majian factory's full operation, Charlotte received good news, which was that the branch in Sichuan had also started production. Zhou Xiaohong called to say that the local government took care of some orders, and the overall situation was stable and good. Charlotte chatted with her for a long time and told her some things. With Zhou Xiaohong looking after the branch in Sichuan, Charlotte didn't need to be worried. He was not worried that there would be no orders from the branch company in Sichuan, because he could send a part of Haiju's order to the branch company at any time. He could even let the branch company in Sichuan process gun parts that did not require precision, such as gun stocks, magazines, and so on. The Thunder Horse Manufacturing Company was now on the right track, and he was no longer the small private boss who solicited orders from all over the place. With the current momentum, it was only a matter of time before Thunder Horse Manufacturing Company became bigger and stronger. If there were gains, there would naturally be losses. In the past month, Charlotte hadn't walked out of the gate of the Lei Majuan factory. He was tired and lost a few pounds. Anina was no exception. She had been fighting on the front line with Charlotte for more than a month. After finishing, she had also lost a few pounds. Anina, I'll take you out for a ride today, and then we'll have a good meal, okay? Charlotte said to Anina when they walked out of the workshop. Anina said happily, "Okay, I wanted to go out for a breath of fresh air for a long time. I've been holding it in for a long time." Charlotte said with a smile, "I'll take you to the Great Wall, and then we'll eat Shuanda roast duck." "Thank you, Lucas. Every day with you is a happy day." Anina leaned over and kissed Charlotte on the cheek. Charlotte was already used to it. Qin Xiang walked over, swaying her hips. She coughed and said, "Io, you guys are too careless. Many of the lads in the factory don't even have a partner. Aren't you just trying to provoke them? The price of the napkins in White's tag has risen because of them." Charlotte's head was spinning. He quickly changed the topic. "We're going out for a walk. Do you want to come with us?" Qin Xiang shook her head. "I'll pass. I don't want to stand on the side when you guys can't control yourselves. I don't want to be a third wheel." Charlotte was speechless. "Anina, can I borrow Director Xia?" Qin Xiang looked at Anina with a smile. Anina shrugged. "You guys talk. I'll go get changed." After Anina left, Qin Xiang went to Charlotte's side and whispered, "You can go out, but be careful. Last time, and Xiaoxian brought some people here to cause trouble. A man and a woman provoked me and told me to go out. Do you remember those two people?" Charlotte's mind jolted, and the image of the two people appeared in his mind. It was clear, but he didn't know their names. Is there something wrong with them? Most likely. They have the aura of a butcher on them. You know what that aura is? Only people who have killed many people have that aura. Qin Xiang said, "When those two people provoked me at that time, I had a feeling that if it were just the two of us in another place, they would most likely kill me. I'm a little afraid of them, so I came to warn you. That brat from the Yin family is a vengeful person. Now that he's been humiliated by you, there's no way he wouldn't take revenge. He might even be waiting for you to go out." Charlotte nodded. "If you say so, I'll be careful. Take a sniper rifle and say you're going to test it," said Qin Xiang. "All right, I'll take one." Charlotte said, "This new sniper rifle has only been tested indoors for its basic performance and power. It hasn't been tested in the wild yet. This time, it's a good time to test it. I'll get it for you." "Wait." Charlotte paused for a moment before saying, "You just said that people who have killed many people will have that kind of aura. Look at me. Do I have that kind of aura? Then let me smell it." Qin Xiang then moved her nose closer to Charlotte's neck. Charlotte stepped aside. "I'm going to change clothes." Qin Xiang looked at Charlotte's back and curled her lips. "You look terrible." A moment later, Charlotte drove his Chevrolet Suburban in the direction of the ancient Great Wall. The new sniper rifle was also placed in the trunk. If Qin Xiang hadn't reminded him, he wouldn't have brought the gun. He didn't even think about how Xiaoxian would take revenge on him. Because this was China, he didn't care about Xiaoxian at all. On the other hand, she was very happy. Along the way, she always found interesting topics to talk about, and her laughter almost never stopped. When they arrived at the ancient Great Wall, Charlotte carried the engineering plastic box with a new sniper rifle in his hand and brought her to a remote area where there were no tourists. Because it wasn't a holiday, there weren't many tourists on the ancient Great Wall. But even in this situation, Charlotte didn't let his guard down. He had observed almost every tourist. Even when he arrived at a place where there was no one, he didn't see the two Koreans that Qin Xiang had warned him about. Charlotte thought to himself, how can there be such a coincidence? And Xiaoxian already knows about me the moment I come out? Maybe Qin Xiang is too sensitive. "Lucas, how much longer do we have to walk?" Anina squatted down and rubbed her ankle. It's all stone stairs. My feet can't take it anymore. She was wearing a mini-skirt and high heels to climb the ancient Great Wall. It would be strange if she wasn't tired. As she squatted down, her mini-skirt was not zipped, and a black lace was revealed. The indentation was obvious, and it looked mysterious and alluring. In front of Charlotte, Anina didn't have any bashfulness. But Charlotte was too embarrassed to stare at her. He looked around and said, "Let's do it here." "Okay." Anina took off her high heels and took off her backpack. She took out a blanket from the backpack and laid it on the ancient bricks. Then, she placed a lot of snacks on the blanket. There were beef jerky, drinks, fruits, macadamia nuts, pecan nuts, and so on. Charlotte put down the engineering plastic box and opened it to take out the new sniper rifle. This sniper rifle had long been named XL 2500. The name was derived from his initials and the range of the gun. Of course, this wasn't the sniper rifle that Charlotte had hand-modified. Although it had the same design, the sniper rifle's range was at least 1,000 meters. Therefore, the XL 2500 that he had hand-modified should be called XL 3500. The theoretical range of the XL 2500 was 2,500 meters, but the actual range was still unknown. After all, this was the first time it was testing its range. Charlotte quickly loaded a magazine and a 22x scope. He didn't need a scope, but this was a test. He needed to know the real data under normal use. "Lucas, hurry up and do the test. Eat something when you're done." Anina peeled an apple with a knife. She was gentle and considerate. "I only need one magazine. It'll be quick." Charlotte raised the sniper rifle and attached it to the battlements. He first used his left eye to measure the distance, then locked the scope on a tree 2,500 meters away and fired. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. The XL 2500 vibrated and a bullet flew out. 2 seconds later, it hit the tree that was locked on. In the scope, a large piece of the tree was blown off. "How is it?" Anina put down the peeled apple and moved to Charlotte's side. She laid on Charlotte's shoulder. Her full breasts were pressed against Charlotte's back. With such a position, how could he shoot properly? Bang, bang, bang. Charlotte fired 3 shots in a row. The interval between each shot was 1 second. The amazing rate of fire of the XL 2500 was undoubtedly demonstrated. After 3 shots, the tree 2,500 meters away was broken by the bullets and fell into the forest. "How far can you shoot?" Anina asked anxiously. 2,500 meters, maybe a little further. Charlotte endured her harassment and locked on a tree further away. He then pulled the trigger. Bang! It hit the target again, but the position was slightly off. Charlotte fired a few more shots and emptied the 10 bullets in the magazine. But this time, he couldn't shoot down the tree. 1 magazine. The test result was out. The effective range of the XL 2500 was 2,600 meters. Beyond this distance, the probability of hitting the target was very low. However, even with such data, it was enough to look down on the world. "Lucas, I want to shoot too," Anina said in Charlotte's ear. Charlotte's ear was itchy. "I'll get you a magazine. There's still one more." Anina stuck to Charlotte and didn't let him go. "I don't want that kind of magazine. I want your magazine." Charlotte was speechless. Chapter 356. After returning from target practice, the car stereo was playing the popular song Little Banana. "You are my little banana. No matter how much I love you, it's never too much." Anina even sang along and danced. Charlotte had a smirk on his face when he heard the lyrics and the incident at the Great Wall. Xiaolei did not encounter any special circumstances until he returned to the capital, and Xiuxian's men did not appear, and they did not find anyone suspicious. Charlotte brought Anina to Quanjude Roast Duck and asked for a private room. "Lucas," Anina said in German, "the Moscow International Small Arms Exhibition is starting soon. We need to prepare." Charlotte also said in German, "I have asked Tang Tianlong to help me submit the application. I will visit him when I get back." Anina said, "Then I will prepare the gun for the exhibition." Charlotte laughed. "Don't worry. It might be difficult to go to the West, but it should not be a problem to go to Russia. Yes, I have a feeling that our XL 2500 sniper rifle will be famous in Russia. We might even create a sensation and achieve more. Charlotte nodded and agreed with what she said. Even the most advanced sniper rifle in the West cannot compare to the XL 2500. Furthermore, the XL 2500 has a high degree of automation and has a 10-round magazine. In fact, the current world record held by an American sniper was only able to hit a target at 2,200 meters. Compared to the XL 2500's effective range of 2,600 meters, it is much lower. On the battlefield, let alone a distance of 400 meters, even a distance of 10 meters was a distance that concerned a sniper's life. Imagine the uproar the XL 2500 will cause when it is unveiled at the Moscow International Small Arms Exhibition. Sniper rifles with similar performance are selling for more than 1 million renminbi. Lucas, what should we set the price for our sniper rifle? Anina asked. Charlotte thought for a while. Every sniper rifle is troublesome to manufacture and adjust. Of course, the price must not be low. The performance of the foreign rifles is not as good as ours, and the price is more than 1 million renminbi. Ours should be more expensive. I think the price will be 2 million yuan overseas and 1 million yuan domestically. Isn't it cheaper now? Charlotte smiled and said, We have just started the arms business, and the sales haven't opened yet. The reputation of our products hasn't been established yet, so it's not a good thing if it's too expensive. Well, what you said makes sense. Anina was not good at business. The waiter pushed a dining cart into the private room and served Charlotte and Anina. At this time, a guest also came into the private room next door. A man called for the waiter in Korean. A woman smiled and said, Soo-jun, the waiters here don't understand your Korean. You should speak Chinese. Your Chinese is pretty good, so it shouldn't be a problem. When the girl's voice entered Charlotte's ears, he suddenly froze. He was too familiar with this voice because it was Xia Shue's voice. Why is Xia Shue here? Who was that Korean? Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly, and the wooden walls of the private room disappeared from his sight in the blink of an eye. Xia Shue and a young man of her age entered his sight. The young man was tall, had an oval face, red lips, and white teeth. He was very handsome. However, there was no masculine aura on him. Nowadays, the so-called handsome boy was probably referring to such a person. Xia Shue and the Korean young man were chatting and laughing, and they looked very intimate. Charlotte's eyebrows suddenly frowned. This kid's surname is An, and his name is Soo-jun. There's only one word difference between his name and Xiaoxin's name. Is this kid from the In family? Thinking about this, Xia Lei was instantly enraged. In his opinion, if Xiaoxian wanted to retaliate against him, the best way wasn't to find someone to beat him up, nor was it to find an assassin to kill him, but to hurt Xia Shue. Xia Shue didn't know that her brother was looking at her next door. His face was full of anger, and his eyes were about to spit fire. It was no wonder that Charlotte was so angry. He didn't oppose Xia Shue's relationship, but he would never let Xia Shue fall in love with a Korean, especially a Korean who might have a relationship with Xiaoxian. Lucas, why aren't you eating? Why are you looking at the wall? Is there a spider? The female mechanic's thoughts were a little jumpy. There's a cockroach, Charlotte said angrily. Cockroach? Where is it? You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to the bathroom. Charlotte left the private room where he and Anina were. Anina carefully looked at the wall that Charlotte was staring at. After a while, she snorted. He probably has poor eyesight, right? She didn't know how Charlotte would feel if he heard this sentence. Charlotte walked to the door of the private room next door. He reached out to open the door, but he hesitated and put his hand down again. Go in directly, slap the kid named in Xiaojuan, and then leave with Xia Shue? Of course, he could do this, but Xia Shue would definitely throw a tantrum and be angry with him. If the kid took advantage of the situation, this was the result that he didn't want to see the most. Charlotte once again awakened the ability of his left eye and looked quietly. Little Shue, you're so beautiful. And Xiaojuan looked at Xia Shue affectionately. His tone was so gentle that it made people's back tingle. Xia Shui was a little shy, and her face was a little red. Sweet talk. I won't be fooled by you. And Xiaojuan raised a hand. Little Shui, I'm serious about you. I swear, you're the person I love the most in my life. Stop it. We've only known each other for a month, and I've become the woman you love the most in your life. Xia Shui said this, but there was a sweet smile on her face. Sweet words and beautiful men were exactly what young girls at Xia Shui's age liked. And Xiaojuan reached out and grabbed Xia Shui's hand. Little Shui, do you want to take out my heart and show it to you? Will you believe me? Xia Shui pouted. Then take it out for me to see. And Xiaojuan suddenly opened his coat and revealed the white t-shirt inside. There was a sentence written on his chest. I only love Xia Shui in my life. You're bad. Xia Shui waved her fist to hit and Xiaojuan. Little Shui, I love you. And Xiaojuan reached out and grabbed Xia Shui's soft hand, holding it tightly. Xia Shui tried to pull it out, but she didn't. She was very nervous, and her face was redder. And Xiaoxian leaned over to Xia Shui and wanted to kiss her. Xia Shui looked back. Don't do this. My brother will scold me if he knows. Your brother. It's your brother again. And Xiaoxian wasn't happy. He let go of Xia Shui's hand. You're already an adult. Do you want your brother to take care of you for a lifetime? I love you, and you love me. Why can't we be together? Xia Shui lowered her head. I'm not saying that we can't be together. I just want my brother to see you. We also need some time. Outside the door, Charlotte secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Judging from Xia Shui's reaction, this and Xiaoxian had only reached the stage of holding hands with Xia Shui. He didn't even kiss her. Well, I respect your opinion. I also want to see your brother. I hope he will like me and accept me. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do. I can't live without you. And Xiaoxian said very emotionally, well, my brother is not stubborn. He is very cheerful. Speaking of this, Xia Shui suddenly laughed. My brother is very powerful. He knows Wing Chun. Don't bully me in the future, or he will beat you up. And Xiaoxian grabbed Xia Shui's hand again and said tenderly, Little Shui, how can I bear to bully you? I love you so much. In the future, I will protect you for your brother. If someone bullies you, I will beat him up. Outside the door, a waiter came over with a dining cart. He saw Charlotte standing at the door and said, Sir, please give way. Charlotte also gave way. He said, I'm sorry. I went the wrong way. The waiter entered the private room. Charlotte hid by the door and continued to watch. The waiter served the dishes and opened a bottle of red wine. When the waiter left the private room, he saw Charlotte still standing by the door. He was curious. Sir, haven't you found the place yet? Do you need my help? Charlotte said, No need. You go ahead with your business. Inexplicable. The waiter whispered and then pushed the dining cart away. Charlotte then moved his gaze to the private room. At this time, and Xiaojuan suddenly pointed behind Xia Shui and said, Little Shui, look at that. What is that? Xia Shui looked back subconsciously. At the moment when Xia Shui looked back, and Xiaojuan suddenly put a white pill into the wine glass in front of Xia Shui. From the moment the pill fell into the wine to the moment it melted, it took less than 2 seconds. When Xia Shui looked back, she didn't see anything. You lied to me. You're so bad. I will ignore you. Xia Shui pretended to be angry. Why would I lie to you? I actually wanted to give you a surprise. And Xiaoxian opened her other palm, but it was a pair of exquisite ruby earrings. It's so beautiful. Xia Shui was very excited. Little Shui, let's have a toast. Then, I will put the earrings on for you. You must look good wearing them. And Xiaojuan picked up the goblet on the table. Xia Shui smiled and raised a wine glass in her hand. Cheers! And Xiaojuan and Xia Shui touched their glasses. Xia Shui sent the wine glass in her hand to her mouth. Boom. The door of the private room was kicked open, and Charlotte strode in. Brother? Xia Shui was suddenly shocked, and her face turned green. Your brother? And Xiaojuan's eyes flashed a hint of disgust. But in the blink of an eye, he stood up with a smile and reached out to shake hands with Charlotte. Mr. Xia, I have wanted to meet you for a long time. I am Xia Shui's boyfriend. My name is Without waiting for Enshojuan to finish his words, Charlotte, who was standing in front of him, suddenly slapped Enshojuan's face. "Pa!" It was a crisp sound, and Enshojuan was suddenly slapped by Charlotte. He covered his face and said angrily, "What are you doing, brother?" Xia Shui came back to her senses, and she also stood up. But a slap in the face was far from dispelling the anger in his heart for Charlotte. He grabbed Enshojuan's lapel and pulled it forward. Then, he hit Enshojuan's lower abdomen with his knee. With this knee, Enshojuan knelt on the ground. "Brother, what are you doing?" Xia Shui rushed up and wanted to pull Charlotte. Charlotte pushed Xia Shui away and slashed Enshojuan's carotid artery. The Korean boy groaned and fell to the ground like soft mud. Xia Shui was suddenly scared. Chapter 357. Anina heard the quarrel and came to the private room next door. She saw Xia Shui and Enshojuan lying on the ground. She was stunned and didn't know what happened. "Brother, what are you doing?" Xia Shui cried. "How can you do this to my friend?" Charlotte stared at Xia Shui. "What kind of friend are you having? Why did you have to have Korean? What's wrong with a Korean? You are prejudiced against Koreans." Xia Shui quarreled with Charlotte. Anina was very smart. She didn't interrupt, but she closed the door of the private room. Xia Shui then pointed at Anina and said, "You can have a British girlfriend. Can't I have a Korean boyfriend? You are unreasonable." Anina, of course, wasn't British. It was just that when Charlotte introduced Anina to Xia Shui, he said that she was from Britain. Until now, Xia Shui actually didn't know Anina's true identity. Xia Shui was getting more and more agitated. "I'm already an adult, not a child. I have my own life. Why do you care what kind of boyfriend I have?" At this time, Charlotte had calmed down. He pointed at Enshojuan and said, "Do you know what he just did? I only know that he is good to me." Xia Shui was very stubborn. A woman in love was the most likely to lose her mind. She was obviously in this state now. "He drugged you." Charlotte pointed to the wine glass that was drugged by Enshojuan. "Is this what a boyfriend should do? Is such a person worthy of your love?" Xia Shui looked at the glass of wine doubtfully and suddenly said, "I don't believe it. You." Charlotte was so angry that he couldn't speak. Anina said in broken Chinese, "Little Shui, your brother is the person who loves you the most in the world. You should believe him. He won't hurt you and won't lie to you." "I don't listen. I don't listen." Xia Shui covered her ears. Charlotte suddenly raised his hand and wanted to slap her, but his hand eventually hovered in the air. From childhood to adulthood, he had never hit Xia Shui. "You hit me. Hit me." Xia Shui seemed to be greatly wronged, and her tears flowed more quickly. Anina quickly pressed Charlotte's hand down. She was also a woman. She understood why Xia Shui would have such a reaction. A girl in love might even run away from home for the love she yearned for. Even her parents couldn't control her, let alone her brother. "You go, all of you go." Xia Shui pointed at the door of the private room. "I don't want to see you. You actually—" Charlotte's heart was hurt, and his voice trembled. "You actually want me to leave for a Korean that you just met?" Xia Shui yelled, "Go. I don't want to see you." Charlotte was so angry that he couldn't speak. Back then, for her sake, he tore up the acceptance letter from Kyoto University. All these years, in order to let her study in peace, he worked at the construction site from dawn to dusk to earn money to support his family. But what did he get? Just because of a Korean kid, she actually treated him like this. Seeing that the conflict between Charlotte and Xia Shui was getting bigger, Anina was also anxious. She said, "You both calm down. Don't quarrel anymore." She looked at Xia Shui. "Xia Shui, I believe your brother. If you think that this Korean kid didn't drug the wine, I can drink this glass of wine to prove to you that this glass of wine is drugged." After that, she really reached for the glass of drugged wine. Charlotte grabbed her hand. "If you want to drink, it shouldn't be you. It should be this kid." Charlotte took the glass of wine and then pinched Enshojuan's philtrum acupuncture point. Enshojuan moaned and woke up. But before he could say anything, Charlotte pinched his jaw and poured the glass of drugged red wine into his mouth. "Woo cough cough." Enshojuan choked. Xia Shui wanted to stop Charlotte, but she changed her mind at the last moment. In fact, when Anina proposed to drink the glass of wine, it had touched her heart. An outsider was willing to believe in her brother without reservation, but she had been doubting him. She wanted to know the answer. If Enchiojuan didn't drug the glass of wine, it would be difficult for her to forgive her brother. If Enchiojuan really drugged the glass of wine, she owed her brother an apology. After Enchiojuan poured the glass of drugged wine, Enchiojuan suddenly became nervous. He climbed up and wanted to escape. Charlotte grabbed him, pressed him on a chair, and asked, "Who is Enchiojuan to you?" "When Enchiojuan? I don't know what you were talking about." Enchiojuan became more and more nervous, and his eyes flickered. "Let me go. I am Korean." Charlotte sneered. "You can do whatever you want just because you are Korean?" This tone is really the same as Enchiojuan. As he spoke, he used his X-ray vision on Enchiojuan, using his left eye to detect whether Enchiojuan was lying. "I don't know Enchiojuan. Let me go." Enchiojuan struggled for a while, but it was to no avail. He looked at Xia Shui for help. "Little Shui, is this person really your brother? He doesn't deserve to be your brother. He is simply a hooligan. However, I won't blame you. I still love you." "Pa!" Xiao Lei slapped Enchiojuan's face. Even at this point in time, this brat still wanted to harm his sister. "Brother, there is no drug in the wine." Xia Shui seemed to have gotten the answer she wanted. She said angrily, "Do you really want to become a hooligan? Let him go." Charlotte said, "You will know soon whether there is a drug or not." "Let me go. Let me go." "Someone," Enchiojuan shouted. Xiao Lei covered Enchiojuan's mouth to stop him from making any sound. At this moment, Enchiojuan's face quickly turned red, as if he had drunk a lot of high alcohol. Then his eyes were unfocused, giving people a blurred feeling. The drug had already played a role in Enchiojuan's body. Charlotte let go of Enchiojuan's hand and looked at Enchiojuan quietly. Xia Shui was also stunned because she had already noticed that Enchiojuan at this moment was like a different person from the previous Enchiojuan. If there was no drug in the glass of wine, how could he suddenly become like this? Enchiojuan shook his head. He tried to wake himself up, but this effort was futile. He looked more and more abnormal. However, he never fell asleep. "Hee, there's so many beautiful women. I like them," Enchiojuan muttered, and then began to grab the clothes on his body. As he took off his clothes, he smiled obscenely. "Let's play together. I will make you feel comfortable," Enchiojuan spoke Korean. Except for Charlotte, Xia Shui and Nina couldn't understand, but they were all very smart women. Judging from Enchiojuan's reaction at the moment, they could guess what kind of drug was in the glass of wine. It wasn't an ordinary hypnotic drug, but a drug that could make people hallucinate. It was a drug that already had that kind of need, and Enchiojuan was bare-chested. He staggered toward Nina with a smirk on his face. "Hey, beauty, let's play. My tongue is very powerful." Nina couldn't understand, but she also knew that what he said was definitely not something good. She kicked between Enchiojuan's legs. Enchiojuan fell to the ground, but he didn't seem to feel the pain. He got up again and walked toward Xia Shui. "Fool, my cousin asked me to play with you. I will play you to death." "You liar." Xia Shui had already understood everything. She was ashamed and resentful. She slapped Enchiojuan's face. This wasn't enough to vent her anger. Her hand were like a cat's claws digging on Enchiojuan's face. Enchiojuan, who had a slow reaction, couldn't escape at all. His handsome face was scratched in the blink of an eye. It was full of scratches from nails. Charlotte didn't stop her. His expression was calm, but his heart was burning with anger. He had always suspected that this Enchiojuan had a relationship with Enchiojuan. Enchiojuan's words had proved this point. This guy was really from the Yin family, and he was instructed by Enchiojuan to deliberately harm Xia Shui. "Enchiojuan, you are King courting death." A cold voice sounded in Charlotte's heart. His eyes were also frighteningly cold. He once asked Qin Xiang if he had the aura of a murderer. He didn't get an answer, but he was now exuding such an aura. Enchiojuan fell to the ground, but Xia Shui was still chasing him and kicking him with her feet. It was like kicking a football that couldn't roll. Nina hugged Xia Shui. "Stop hitting him. You will kill him." Xia Shui cried. "Brother, I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Charlotte sighed. It's nothing. I'm your brother. If I don't forgive you, can I still be angry with you for a lifetime? Brother. Xia Shui threw herself into Charlotte's arms and cried loudly. The door of the private room was suddenly pushed open, and a waiter appeared at the door. He saw the situation in the private room and said with surprise, "What happened?" And Xiaojun got up and staggered to the door of the private room. He said in Chinese, "Handsome, let's play." The waiter suddenly flashed to the side and looked at Xiaojun in horror. As Xiaojun walked, he untied his belt and took off his pants. Finally, he even took off the last piece of cloth on his body and walked into the lobby of Chuanda roast duck naked. The lobby was suddenly filled with the screams of women and the scolding of men. It was a mess, and Xiaojun didn't respond to these voices at all. He smiled and threw himself at the woman when he saw her. Then, what greeted him was naturally a violent beating. This scene fell into Xia Shui's eyes, and her face was pale. She couldn't imagine what would happen if Charlotte didn't appear, and she drank the cup of drugged wine that Xiaojun gave her. If what happened to Xiaojun at this moment happened to her, she was afraid that she could only jump off a building. Charlotte was also secretly thinking about a question. That was, if he didn't bring Anina to Chuanda roast duck for dinner, what would he face? He didn't even dare to think about the answer to this question. "Anina, you take Xia Shui back to the military factory," said Charlotte. "Where are you going?" Anina looked at Charlotte with some concern. "There is something that I need to deal with," Charlotte said. "Well, I will take Xia Shui back." Anina didn't ask much. "Brother," Xia Shui wanted to speak, but stopped. Her heart was full of regret and guilt. Charlotte patted the back of her head and showed a smile on his face. "Silly girl, your brother is fine. Go back with Xia Mei." And Xia Shui nodded obediently. Anina walked out with Xia Shui. Charlotte suddenly stopped and said, "Wait, little Shui, didn't I ask Lu Sheng to protect you? Why isn't he by your side?" Xia Shui thought for a moment and said, "He was here in the morning, but I don't know where he went. He didn't call me." Charlotte's heart sank slightly, and then he said, "It's fine. You go back first." Where did Lu Sheng go? Chapter 358. The police came and took away the crazy and Xiaojun. And Xiaojun, who walked into Chuanda roast duck with Xia Shui, was handsome, but the Xiaojun who left had a face full of blood, resembling a pig's head. He was extremely embarrassed. Anina drove away in his Chevrolet Suburban off-road van. After leaving Chuanda roast duck, Xia Lei hailed a taxi and went straight to the headquarters of Division 101. In the car, Charlotte tried to call Lu Sheng's cell phone, but Lu Sheng's cell phone was turned off. He couldn't get through. Charlotte was worried and thought a lot. After Lu Sheng recovered, Charlotte transferred him to the capital base with Qin Xiang. The Thunder Horse military factory was guarded by the military. There was no need for Lu Sheng to preside over the security work, so he only had one responsibility, which was to protect Xia Shui. He should have been by Xia Shui's side or nearby, but he was gone. Charlotte had a hunch in his heart that something happened to Lu Sheng. The reason was very simple. If Lu Sheng wasn't eliminated, and Xiaojun wouldn't have a chance to make a move. Lu Sheng was a special forces soldier, and he had a few years of experience learning Wing Chun. How couldn't Xiaojun be his opponent? Moreover, after Lu Sheng retired, he became a bodyguard. He was very professional, which also hindered in Xiaoxian and in Xiaojun's plan. Now it seemed that if there was no Lu Sheng, and Xiaoxian would have already made a move. The reason why she made a move today was mostly because he came out of retreat today. The more he thought about it, the angrier Charlotte's heart was. What he couldn't tolerate the most was that someone hurt Xia Shui, but Xiaoxian did it. Entering the headquarters of Innings 101, Charlotte found Long Bing. "I just got the news." Without waiting for Charlotte to explain the situation, Long Bing said, "You calm down. Don't be impulsive." She knew Charlotte's temper. It might not be a big deal if someone beat him up, but if someone hurt Xia Shui, he would become a terrifying beast and tear that person apart. Charlotte said coldly, "I risked my life for 101 innings, but now someone is targeting my sister and using her to take revenge on me. and you're telling me to calm down? Let me tell you, the bodyguard I arranged to protect my sister is missing, and I can't contact him. At this point, can I still remain calm? Lu Sheng saved Xia Shui once before, and he almost lost his life. Now she disappeared to protect Xia Shui. How could he sit back and do nothing? Long Bing was silent for a moment before saying, Lu Sheng, I know this person. We originally arranged for someone to protect Xia Shui in secret, but you sent Lu Sheng to protect Xia Shui. The higher-ups removed the protection measures against Xia Shui because they evaluated Lu Sheng's ability and felt that he was fully competent for this job. Xia Lei frowned. You guys are really thrifty when you can. Well, I know you're unhappy, but you have to understand the difficulties of the higher-ups. After all, human resources are limited. Long Bing said, I think Lu Sheng should tell you that your sister is in love with someone. In this case, this kind of thing won't happen. Long Bing said, Xia Shui is very strong and independent. I analyzed that she should be secretly dating and Xiujuan. Lu Sheng may know, but my sister may also stop him from telling me. I don't blame Lu Sheng for this. I know my own sister. Charlotte said. Long Bing shrugged. Say it. What do you want? Well, I'm not an unreasonable person. I can understand. Charlotte said. The purpose of my coming here is very simple. And Xiujuan has been caught. I want to interrogate him personally. I need permission. This. Long Bing didn't immediately agree. I need to ask President Shi. The office door suddenly opened, and Shi Boren appeared at the door. What do you need to ask? Go and interrogate him directly. Damn, he dares to touch the family of my 101 innings. This time, even if I don't kill him, I will make him shed a layer of skin. Long Bing and Charlotte couldn't help but look at each other. Shi Boren actually used vulgar language. This was the first time they encountered it. However, even though it was vulgar, this sentence made them happy. Charlotte's mouth also showed a smile. Thank you, President Shi. Shi Boren put on a serious face. You kid, I have to remind you not to go too far. The Divine Domain Group isn't made by Thunder Horse, and in Jinjian isn't an uncle who buys vegetables on the street. Do you understand what I mean? If you make me embarrassed, I will settle the score with you, kid. Charlotte's face finally showed a smile. Thank you, President Shi. Go, go, go. You are a troublesome person. Shi Boren waved his hand. Charlotte said, President Shi, you can't blame me for this. If I didn't go to Korea to steal the sword of Attila, would I have become enemies with Inshotian? Shi Boren glared at Charlotte, but he couldn't find the words to refute Charlotte. An hour later, Charlotte and Long Bing brought a document to the police station wherein Xiujuan was being detained. Director Li of the police station received Long Bing and Charlotte and personally brought them to a detention room. And Xiujuan had already woken up and was sitting on a stool in the detention room. When he saw Charlotte, he suddenly became agitated. He rushed to the iron bars and shouted at Charlotte, Be *starred. I want to sue you. Charlotte directly ignored and Xiujuan shouting. Director Li frowned and said, This guy is very arrogant. He repeatedly said that he is a Korean and wanted to see the people from their consulate and his lawyer. Our police officers recorded his statement, and he used Korean. We invited a Korean interpreter, but this *starred actually spoke English. And Xiujuan pointed to Director Li and said, I don't care about you scolding me. This Charlotte is a criminal. He hurt me. Arrest him immediately, Director Li said with a wry smile. See, this is his attitude. It's very difficult. I don't know how to deal with this matter. Director Li, just leave him to us, said Long Bing. This is the document. She handed the document to Director Li. Director Li took a look at the document and looked relieved. Well, I'll leave this guy to you. After Director Li left, and Xiujuan shouted, Come back. You bastard. Come back here. Be *starred. You'll regret it. Be quiet, Long Bing said, and then opened the door of the detention room with the key. Beauty, how much do you earn a year? I'll give you double the annual salary. Sleep with me for one night. And Xiujuan stared at Long Bing and said in an obscene tone. Just as he finished speaking, the back of Long Bing's right foot had already fiercely slammed into the space between his legs. Ouch! and Xiujuan covered his crotch and knelt on the ground. Charlotte also frowned slightly. He felt as if that foot had kicked his crotch. He also thought that Xiujuan was really stupid. At this time, he still dared to annoy Longbing. "Take your hand away," Longbing said coldly. And Xiujuan didn't listen to the command. He opened his mouth and was ready to curse. Longbing suddenly kicked in Xiujuan's hand, and his hand was still covering the place between his legs. Although this kick was blocked by his palm, that place still received a huge impact. He screamed and curled up on the ground. Longbing went behind Xiujuan and kicked the place between Xiujuan's legs. "Ah!" And Xiujuan screamed like a pig being slaughtered. He almost fainted from the pain. "Take your hand away," Longbing said lightly. "Take your hand away. I'll only kick you once. If you don't, I'll keep kicking you." She wanted to kick that place, but she didn't let anyone block it. Longbing was just that domineering and unreasonable. And Xiujuan's tears came out. He was sad and indignant. But when he saw Longbing's indifferent face, he finally let go of his hand. Longbing kicked him again. "Ah!" And Xiujuan screamed like a pig being slaughtered again. Charlotte started to doubt whether Xiujuan's place could still be used normally. Longbing grabbed Xiujuan's hair and pulled him up from the ground. She said coldly, "Let me explain the situation to you. If you dare to be disrespectful to me again, I'll make you squat and pee for the rest of your life." And Xiujuan's face was drained of all color. "Kneel!" Longbing roared, and Xiujuan trembled and knelt on the ground. Longbing glanced at Charlotte. "He's yours. You can start now." Charlotte nodded. He picked up the chair and sat opposite Jinjian. He looked down at him. "I'll ask you a few simple questions. Are you willing to answer them?" And Xiujuan stared coldly at Charlotte. He didn't agree or disagree. Longbing slapped the back of Xiujuan's head. "Speak." I'm willing." And Xiujuan was afraid of being tortured by Longbing. Charlotte said, "Very well. Then I'll ask the first question. When did you start to get in touch with my sister?" "I just met your sister." And Xiujuan thought for a moment. "I just met her for a month." "What did you do?" And Xiujuan said, "I didn't do anything." "Really? Your sister is a very conservative girl. I chased her for half a month before she was willing to talk to me. 20 days later, I had a chance to touch her a few times. If it was an ordinary girl who was pestered by a Korean handsome man like in Xiujuan, she might have slept with him after 20 hours. It could be seen that Xia Shui wasn't the kind of girl who could be confused by appearance and flowery words. This was related to Charlotte's rich upbringing. The pocket money he gave Xia Shui was a credit card with a limit of 1 million yuan. Could she be tempted casually? My second question. My sister has a bodyguard around her. How did you get close to my sister? And Xiujuan said, I transferred from South Korea. I'm in the same class as Xia Shui. We are classmates, classmate to classmate. Your bodyguard didn't suspect me. Besides, your sister is very conservative and cautious. I didn't have a chance at all. He finally succeeded. It took 20 days to move Xia Shui's heart, and he could hold hands with Xia Shui. In fact, a boy who could hold hands with Xia Shui meant that he had been recognized by her. He was her boyfriend. I'll ask you the last two questions. You answer them together. Charlotte said, What's your relationship with Xiujuan? Where's my sister's bodyguard now? And Xiujuan closed his mouth cleverly. Charlotte clenched his fists and was ready to interrogate. Right at this moment, a clamor sounded out. You have no right to detain our citizens. It was a man's voice. I have the right to see him and provide him with judicial assistance. I'm a lawyer. Another man's voice. If you don't follow the legal procedures, I have the right to protest to the higher authorities and pursue the responsibility of the person responsible. Charlotte loosened his fist, and Xiujuan's mouth showed a sneer. Chapter 359. A group of people came, and Director Li and the police officers couldn't stop them. After all, they were from the South Korean embassy. Their identities were special and sensitive, and the police were also in a difficult position. Therefore, they pretended to stop them and gave an explanation to Longbing and Charlotte. Then, they let them in. This was also a way to avoid trouble. However, Charlotte didn't expect Xiaoxian to be among this group of people. There were also the two people mentioned by Qin Xiang, Chagu Ri and Kim Ji-yun, who had the aura of murderers. And Xiaoxian walked over with a group of people. He was calm and had an extraordinary aura. He looked at Charlotte with a strong sense of contempt and provocation in his eyes. Charlotte's eyes moved to Chagu Ri and Kim Ji-yun. Sure enough, he smelled the aura of unusual people. He didn't know if it was the aura of murderers, but he felt that these two people were very sinister. "What are you doing?" The South Korean embassy's consul said angrily. "Why are our people kneeling on the ground?" Someone give me an explanation." Longbing frowned slightly. She moved to Charlotte's side and whispered, "Remember President Shi's reminder. Don't make it difficult for him." Charlotte nodded gently. He also knew that if he continued to torture and Xiaojuan in front of the South Korean embassy, it was likely to cause a big dispute, and Sherborin would also encounter some trouble. "They beat me," and Xiaojuan suddenly shouted, "I want to have my injuries examined. I want to sue them." The South Korean embassy's consul followed and said, "Did they force you to kneel?" And Xiaojuan said, "They forced me to kneel. They also kicked me below." "Fine." The South Korean embassy's consul said angrily, "You must give me a reasonable explanation. Otherwise, we'll see you in court." And Xiaoxian sneered. "This time, there must be witnesses and material evidence, right? If we don't arrest them and deal with them, is this still a country ruled by law?" With a big hat pinned on them, the atmosphere suddenly became oppressive. And Xiaojuan was also very quick-witted. He began to moan in pain. This was not an act. He was really in pain there, but he had been enduring it and did not dare to show it. Charlotte patted Xiaojuan's shoulder and said in a gentle voice, "Stop pretending. No one beat you here, and no one asked you to kneel down. You're the one who did something wrong, and you need to repent." Bullsh *T. With someone supporting her, and Xiaojuan's courage also rose. Xiaolei did not pay any more attention to him. He got up and walked to the door, opened it, and stood face to face with Xiaoxian. "What do you want?" And Xiaoxian said contemptuously, "If you dare to touch me here, you won't be able to bear the consequences." As soon as Xiaoxian finished speaking, Charlotte placed his palm on her shoulder. "Does touching you like this count? You?" And Xiaoxian was suddenly speechless. Charlotte seemed to have inserted something into his throat. Charlotte patted Xiaoxian's shoulder. "And Xiaoxian, originally, we just had a little unhappiness, but now, you've made things bigger. The person inside is your cousin, right? So what if he is?" And Xiaoxian pushed away Charlotte's hand. He used a lot of strength. "You said that I made things bigger. I don't know what you're talking about, but I can tell you that I don't put you in my eyes at all. I heard that my cousin is in love with your sister. My cousin is a romantic, and his kung fu in bed is even better. I don't know." Charlotte interrupted Xiaoxian's words. "You want to provoke me? That's not enough. Let me tell you, your cousin committed a criminal case. What awaits him is the severe punishment of the law. You want to take him away? What a joke. What do you think this is? What criminal case?" The South Korean embassy's consul interrupted. "I'm warning you, don't talk nonsense. I'm here to take him away from here." Charlotte sneered. He was naked in public and openly attacked a woman. This has already violated the crime of indecency, the crime of insulting women, and the crime of attempted rape. The most serious thing is that the police received a certain amount of new drugs from him. You know, our country is very strict in this area. If you violate this law, even the King of Heaven can't save you. Oh yes, not long ago, a Japanese man was shot to death. However, I don't know if our judge will be particularly merciful to you Koreans. After all, you are from Korea, so they have to give you some face." And Xiaojuan's face suddenly turned pale. Not because of anything else, but because he knew very well what kind of drug he put in the wine. To make matters worse, he happened to have more than a dozen on him. "You're lying." The South Korean embassy's consul was already a little uncertain, but he still bluffed. "I'm warning you. Don't talk nonsense without evidence. Otherwise, I'll sue you for slander. It's just a dog. I can't be bothered to explain it to you." Charlotte said indifferently, "You can continue to act like a woman and act shamelessly here, but you have to think about the consequences." Once the police suspect that you're also related to this new drug, your end won't be any better. There was no second word. The South Korean embassy's consul cautiously shut his mouth. These people were here to get Inshoshin out. They also wanted to get some benefits because of his identity as the Celestial Corporation's young director, and also to lay a foundation for their future relationship. In this kind of situation, of course, they were willing to help if there was no risk, but if there was a risk, then no one was willing to help. And Shoshin hesitated for a moment, then said sternly, "Let's go. Brother, get me out." And Shojuin got up from the ground and rushed to the door. Long Bing kicked in Shojuin's back, and he immediately fell to the ground. He was beaten up in front of the South Korean embassy's consul and in Shoshin, let alone after these people left. It was only now that Shojuin was afraid and regretful. A trace of hatred flashed in Shoshin's eyes, but he didn't show it on his face. "Shojuin, don't worry. We'll get you out of here. Stay here for a few days. Watch your mouth and don't talk nonsense." And Shojuin bit his lower lip and nodded. And Shoshin glared at Charlotte fiercely, then turned to leave. "Wait." Charlotte stopped Shoshin. He walked to Shoshin's side and whispered in his ear, "Where's my sister's bodyguard?" And Shoshin sneered. "I don't know what you're talking about. You can pretend not to know, but I want to tell you that if he dies, you will end up the same as him. Are you threatening me? Also, I'm giving you a warning. Don't have any ideas about my sister. Otherwise, no one will spend your tens of billions in the future," Charlotte said. And Shoshin wanted to reply to Charlotte, but after seeing the look in Charlotte's eyes, he couldn't say anything. He didn't know why, but he also felt a chill in his heart. In the end, and Shoshin snorted coldly and left with his men. Before leaving, Chaguri and Kim Ji-yun looked at Charlotte deeply at almost the same time. It seemed to be a signal. Charlotte also had a hunch that Liu Shang's disappearance was most likely related to these two people. Charlotte returned to the detention room. "You handled it correctly," Long Bing said. "Just now, when Shoshin provoked you, I thought you would make a move, but you actually endured it." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "I really wanted to beat him up at that time, but it's about Liu Shang's life. Even if it's uncomfortable, I can endure it. Just now, when you talked to Shoshin." Long Bing didn't expose him. Charlotte knew what she wanted to say, so he nodded. A smile appeared on the corner of Long Bing's mouth. "Then I'll go get ready right away. You still have a few minutes." Charlotte nodded and watched Long Bing leave. Just now, when he approached Shoshin to talk to him, he had secretly put a miniature locator in Shoshin's pocket. It was difficult to find something the size of a grain of rice. This was the second time he had used this method. With the stealing skills he learned from Qin Xiang, stealing things was as easy as turning over his hand, let alone putting things in. After Long Bing left, Charlotte looked at Shojuin and said coldly, "You're so young. If you're sentenced to 10 or 20 years, your life will be over. I'll give you a chance. Tell me, where's my sister's bodyguard now?" And Shojuin avoided Charlotte's eyes and didn't speak. Charlotte said, "Maybe I'll be sentenced to death. Don't King scare me. I won't fall for it." And Shojuin was arrogant. "I'll leave here. My uncle can make you release her with just a word." Xiao Lei sneered. "All right then, I'll get someone to give you more drugs later, enough for you to be executed by firing squad. I'd like to see how powerful your uncle is and whether he can save you from here." "How dare you?" Xiao Lei ferociously kicked in Shojuin's crotch. And Shojuin fell to the ground again, like a curled-up shrimp. "I'll give you one last chance. Tell me, where's my sister's bodyguard now?" "I don't know. Don't kick me there, please. If you kick me again, I won't be able to use it." And Shojuin wailed, snot and tears flowed out. "Wash your ass. If a little fresh meat like you goes to prison, your cellmates will love you very much." Charlotte dropped these words and turned to leave the detention room, and Shojuin was still moaning and wailing on the ground. Xiao Lei's last sentence reverberated in his ears like a curse, causing his chrysanthemum to tighten. When he walked out of the police station, Long Bing's car was already waiting by the roadside. There was an electronic terminal the size of a cigarette box on the dashboard. The screen showed the streets of the capital and a red that was moving along one of the roads. Charlotte's mini locator was a piece of equipment from 101 innings, a leftover from Afghanistan. It was very easy for Long Bing to get the locator signal. Long Bing started the car and chased after him. As she drove, she said, "Didn't he ask for the result?" Charlotte shook his head. "Doesn't know." "Don't worry. Lu Sheng will be fine." Long Bing comforted. "This is China. I don't think Xiaoxian has the guts to do that." Charlotte sighed softly. "I hope so." "All right, let me tell you something." "What is it?" "I heard there is a problem with the specialist group." Charlotte's heart jumped. "Are you talking about the specialist group that Peaceful is with?" "Yes, that specialist group." "What happened?" "I'm not sure. I just heard some rumors." For some reason, the beautiful female body suddenly appeared in Charlotte's mind. Princess Yongmei, Zhu Xianhua. The car sped on the road, but it kept a distance of 2 kilometers from the red that represented an Xiaoxian. Chapter 360. And Xiaoxian separated from the consulate and brought Cha Gu-ri and Kim Ji-yun into a Korean hotel called Gangnam Hotel. The Gangnam district of Seoul was the pride of the Koreans. This hotel was also invested by the Divine Domain Corporation, so this place could be considered the headquarters of Jinjian's family in China's capital. Most of the Divine Domain Corporation's business in China was negotiated here. Long Bing parked the car across the road from Gangnam Hotel. She looked at the hotel through the window and said, "I don't think it's possible that Lu Sheng is in this hotel." "Why?" "There are so many people coming and going in this hotel. It's not good for hiding people. If Lu Sheng makes some noise, the guests in the hotel might hear him. If I were to do this, I definitely wouldn't hide Lu Sheng in the hotel." Long Bing said. Charlotte thought for a moment. "What if it's the basement?" "Basement? That's possible. Can you get the blueprint of this hotel?" "Of course. The fire department in this district has the blueprints of all the buildings." "Wait a moment. I'll make a call." Long Bing took out her phone and made a call. A few minutes later, Long Bing received a document on her phone. It was the blueprint of Gangnam Hotel sent by the fire department in this district. Charlotte moved closer to Long Bing's cheek and looked at the blueprint of Gangnam Hotel with her. Their faces were almost touching. Strangely, Long Bing didn't feel disgusted. She just looked at the blueprint silently. In fact, Charlotte only needed 1 or 2 seconds to finish looking at a blueprint, and he wouldn't forget any details. Considering Long Bing's memory, he always waited for her to flip to the next blueprint. As he waited, his eyes inadvertently fell on her collar. The skin there was bulging, snow white, and translucent, and there was also an intoxicating deep cleavage. Although it was inadvertent, Charlotte still blamed himself. "What's wrong with me? Why am I looking at someone's chest at this time?" It took Long Bing almost 5 minutes to finish reading the drawings. Then she said, "Are you done?" Charlotte said, "I'm done. Have you seen enough?" Charlotte was stunned. "What do you mean? Do my breasts look good?" "Charlotte, if you look at me again, I'll dig your eyes out." Long Bing put away her phone and glared fiercely at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled awkwardly and did not explain. This kind of thing could not be explained clearly. The more one tried to explain, the more awkward it would be. "You've seen the blueprint of the hotel. What do you plan to do?" Long Bing asked. Charlotte looked at the darkening sky outside the window. "Let's wait a little longer. We'll go in and take a look when it gets dark. Tell me, if Lu Sheng died, what would you do?" Long Bing looked at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "If I said that I would avenge him, you would definitely stop me. If I said that I wouldn't do anything, you probably wouldn't believe me. What I want to tell you is that I don't know what I would do." "What kind of answer is that?" Long Bing was a little dissatisfied. Charlotte said, "Let's wait for the result first. Whatever you say now is just a possibility." After a pause, he sighed. "Many things will always change in this way and that way. It's unexpected. Many people are always changing. Do you think of Yang Xiao?" Charlotte immediately shut his mouth. Long Bing said, "You've changed a lot since you broke up with Liang Xiao. Don't mention her." Charlotte did not want to talk about Liang Xiao, especially Liang Xiao with Long Bing. "Well, I won't mention her. Long Bing said, "What I want to tell you is that no matter what the situation is, the first thing you have to do is believe in this country and believe in our laws. No matter who killed Lu Sheng, they would have to pay the corresponding price. But if you do something extreme, it's not wise. I don't want you to ruin your future and everything you have now because of Lu Sheng. Remember, you are not alone. There are people who care about you." "Who?" "Your sister." The atmosphere in the car became slightly awkward and silent. The sky darkened, and the street lights lit up. The Jiangnan Hotel was also lit up with countless lights, and it was a scene of brilliance. A couple came out of a fashion store and walked to the Jiangnan Hotel hand in hand. In this couple, the man was wearing a cap and had a beautiful mustache. He was very masculine and sexy. The woman's long skirt was fluttering. Her legs were slender and curvy, which was also sexy and pleasing to the eye. She also wore a small blue hat on her head and a white ribbon tied around it. The combination of blue and white was refreshing and pleasing to the eye. However, both the man and the woman covered half of their faces with hats, so it was difficult to see their faces clearly. The couple was Charlotte and Long Bing. It was not the first time the two worked together like this. In Germany, the two acted as husband and wife and slept in the same bed for more than a month. They had experienced that kind of scene, so the cooperation of pretending to be a couple was a piece of cake. The two booked a room on the 4th floor and went in. Not long after, a waiter pushed a dining cart into their room. He opened the cabinet in the dining cart and quickly took out 2 staff uniforms, pistols, and laptops. There was also some spy equipment. There is no doubt that this staff was also an agent of Innings 101. "This is Xiao Wu." Long Bing gave a simple introduction. "He will provide technical support for our operation." Agent Xiao Wu greeted Charlotte. "Hello, Consultant Xia. I've heard a lot about you. It's an honor to work with you." Charlotte and Agent Xiao Wu shook hands and exchanged a few words. From Xiao Wu's reaction, he knew that he was now a celebrity in 101 innings. He had a reputation that was on par with Long Bing and Tang Yuyan. This was not surprising at all. Whether it was the sword theft mission in Korea or the hostage rescue mission in Afghanistan, his amazing performance was enough to win the hearts of the agents in 101 innings. Agent Xiao Wu quickly got into work. He connected the laptop to the network port in the room and began to hack into the hotel security system. Charlotte and Long Bing also began to change their clothes. Long Bing did not avoid it all. After taking off her dress, she was only left with a bra and black lace. She was 175 meters tall and had a perfect figure with a pair of long legs that were particularly eye-catching. There's a lot of fat accumulated on her chest and buttocks. Her curvaceous figure was perfectly displayed on her body. What was even rarer was that years of training had given her some faint muscle lines, which gave her a sense of beauty that combined strength and softness. Agent Xiao Wu focused on the computer and did not look back. However, Charlotte, who was taking off his clothes, was stunned. It was not the first time he had seen Long Bing in her underwear. However, seeing it again after such a long time, he was still amazed. Long Bing's figure was actually similar to Liang Xiao's. Seeing the similar figure lines, the image of Liang Xiao flashed across Charlotte's mind. Long Bing glared at Charlotte, but there was no hint of disgust in her eyes. Charlotte quickly looked away and quickly took off his clothes. He then changed into the staff uniform that Agent Xiao Wu had given him and put on a few spy equipment. Dragon Division and Xiaoxian is on the top floor. Xiao Wu looked at the monitor of the laptop and said, "The top floor is not open to ordinary guests. Only in Xiaoxian and his bodyguards are there. Yes, and a few women." Charlotte moved closer and saw the content on the monitor. It was a luxurious hall. 4 bikini-clad girls were serving in Xiaoxian. 2 of them were dancing seductively with their snake-like waists. One was feeding fruits to Xiaoxian, and the other was pouring red wine for Xiaoxian. Among the 4 bikini-clad girls, 2 were Asian. One had blonde hair and blue eyes, and the other was a black rose. All 4 bikini-clad girls were very sexy and beautiful. Charlotte also saw the 2 people that Qin Xiang had specifically reminded him about, Chagu Ri and Kim Ji-yun. However, the 2 of them only appeared on the screen for a few seconds before they left the hall. It was definitely not suitable for them to stay as bodyguards in such an occasion. Charlotte's lips curled into a sneer. They really know how to enjoy themselves. Xiao Wu, save this video and send it to me after this. Agent Xiao Wu smiled. No problem, Consultant Xia. Long Bing, however, pouted. Boring. Time to go. Charlotte followed Long Bing out of the door. Of course, he did not ask Agent Xiao Wu for the video of Xiaoxian seeking pleasure for himself. This kind of recording had many uses for him. He could play it at some high-class banquet, or he could play it when Xiaoxian was arrogantly pursuing Shen Tianyin. Even if he did not find Lu Sheng tonight, it would still be a big gain. Charlotte and Long Bing took the staff elevator to the work area on the ground floor. With the technical support of Agent Xiao Wu, the two of them avoided the hotel security guards and other staff members and arrived at the entrance to the basement without any trouble. The entrance to the basement was actually an electronic door that required a password and identification. However, it only took a few seconds before the closed electronic door automatically opened. Agent Xiao Wu's voice could be heard from the micro receiver implanted in his ear. Go in. The surveillance cameras are not working. Charlotte and Long Bing entered the passageway behind the electronic door. There were surveillance cameras installed in the passageway. If it were not for Agent Xiao Wu, it would have been difficult for the two of them to sneak in. There was an elevator at the end of the passageway. As expected, when the two of them walked to the elevator door opened automatically. Agent Xiao Wu's voice could be heard from the micro receiver again. There are no surveillance cameras below, so I can't see what's going on in the basement. Be careful, Long Bing said into the micro-communicator pinned to her collar. Got it. Continue to monitor Xiaoxian and his people. Roger that. Agent Xiao Wu replied. The elevator stopped and the door opened. Charlotte and Long Bing walked out. They saw a wide underground space that was about a few hundred square meters. However, this was not a place where goods were stored. Instead, it was a place that was beautifully and luxuriously decorated. Then, Charlotte and Long Bing's eyes focused on the center of the basement. There was a boxing ring there. Lu Sheng was in a boxing ring. He was tied to a pillar, and his naked upper body was covered with whip marks. It was a ghastly sight. Chapter 361. A tall fatty was sitting on a chair next to the boxing ring. He was taking a nap on the chair. When Charlotte and Long Bing came in, he suddenly opened his eyes and angrily shouted in Korean, Who are you? How did you get in? Charlotte and Long Bing did not say anything and quickly walked towards him. Damn it, bastard. The fatty grabbed a hammer from the ground and strode towards Charlotte and Long Bing. His face was ferocious and aggressive. Holding the hammer, he did not put Charlotte and Long Bing in his eyes at all. At this time, Lu Sheng also opened his eyes and said, Go. However, Lu Sheng's voice was very weak. In the blink of an eye, it was covered by the fatty's roar. The fatty swung the hammer towards Charlotte's head. This was a fatal attack, leaving no room for maneuver. Charlotte did not even dodge. He reached out and grabbed the fatty's wrist. Then, he brought the fatty's hairy arm forward and tripped, causing the fatty to fall to the ground. The hammer fell to the ground as well. World strategy, ball dog. The fatty's voice was cursing in Mandarin. Bastard, go die. As soon as his voice fell, Long Bing lightly kicked with her foot and the hammer on the ground flew into her hand. Then, the hammer drew a smooth arc in her soft hand and fiercely smashed into the fatty's area between his legs. At that moment, the fatty's mouth opened so wide that it could swallow a fist. His brows were furrowed so much that they almost reached his hairline. For a man, even a kick in that place would hurt like hell, let alone such a ferocious hammer. However, before the fatty could let out a scream, Long Bing's foot kicked his temple. The Korean fatty, who was as strong as a polar bear, closed his eyes and fainted. A turbid liquid also flowed out from his crotch, emitting an unpleasant smell. Charlotte looked at Long Bing in horror, and his thighs shrank inexplicably. Long Bing said lightly, What are you waiting for? Hurry up and save them. Charlotte came back to his senses. He smiled bitterly and climbed into the ring. "Go quickly," Lu Shang said in a weak voice. This time, Charlotte heard it clearly, and his heart suddenly sank. "What are you trying to say?" He did not stop as he spoke, and quickly used his military knife to cut the ropes that bound Lu Shang. This is The rope loosened, and Lu Shang fell to the ground. Charlotte hugged Lu Shang's waist. "Hurry up and tell me." A trap. Lu Shang's condition was extremely bad. He only managed to say 2 words, but it was as if he had just run a marathon. He was extremely weak, and he leaned weakly on Charlotte's shoulder. Long Bing reacted quickly. She pulled out her gun and aimed at the elevator door. The elevator showed no signs of moving, and the number remained at the -3 position. Charlotte also activated the ability of his left eye, and he quickly scanned the entire basement. However, other than the Korean fatty who was knocked out by Long Bing, there was no 5th person in the basement. There were no cameras installed on the walls, and there were no doors or other passages. "Let's get out of here." Charlotte retracted his gaze, and there was a bad feeling in his heart. Long Bing nodded and walked toward the elevator door with her gun. As she spoke, she asked, "Xiao Wu, what's going on up there?" Xiao Wu's voice did not come from the mini earpiece, but after a few seconds, a man's voice came. "Haha, you guys are really naive. What do you think this place is? You think you can come and go as you please?" It was in Xiuxian's voice. A cold glint flashed in Long Bing's eyes. "And Xiuxian, you've got some guts. This is China. You should think about the consequences of your actions. Don't use this to scare me. And Xiuxian won't fall for it." And Xiuxian sneered. "This is my territory, and your fate is in my hands. Charlotte, I said that one day you will kneel before me and apologize to me. The day has come." Charlotte said, "Fine, I can kneel and apologize to you. Where are you? I'll kneel and apologize to you right away, or you can come down." Do you guys still want to come up?" "You guys can't come up anymore." And Xiuxian's voice. Long Bing quickly walked to the elevator and reached out to press the button to open the door. However, there was no response from the elevator door. This elevator was the only passage to the surface. If the elevator could not start, Charlotte and Long Bing would be trapped here. This situation was even worse for Lu Shang, who was in urgent need of treatment. Long Bing fiercely kicked the elevator door. A muffled bang was heard, but the elevator door was still intact and did not open. Charlotte put Lu Shang on the ground and kicked the elevator door. This time, the elevator door was dented inwards. After kicking the elevator door and opening the maintenance window at the top of the elevator, the two could climb up the elevator shaft. This was the strategy that Long Bing and Charlotte thought of at the same time, without any discussion. The kick was effective. Charlotte took a few steps back, and then suddenly sprinted and hit the elevator door like a cannonball. Boom! Long Bing took out her phone and was ready to call for reinforcements. However, after taking out her phone and glancing at it, her heart sank to the bottom. There was no signal here at all. "It's useless." And Xiuxian's voice came. "I know what you want to do. Let me tell you, I've already prepared for you." Chi. A cloud of white smoke suddenly blew out from the basement's vent. This smoke came out from the vent and quickly spread throughout the entire basement. It was obviously not steam. Charlotte and Long Bing soon smelled the piercing smell of medicine. Anesthetic gas. Long Bing became nervous. In this enclosed space, once they were anesthetized by the anesthetic gas, she and Charlotte would be like fish on Xiuxian's chopping board. "Charlotte, accept your fate. You'll know what your fate is in a moment." "Ha ha ha." And Xiuxian laughed very happily. Bang, bang, bang. Long Bing fired at the elevator door. A few holes appeared on the elevator door, but this did not change the terrible situation in front of them. The anesthetic gas was getting closer and closer. It had not come into contact yet, but it was already making people's reactions slow. The first to be affected was naturally Lu Shang, who was extremely weak. The smell of the anesthetic gas hit him, and he fainted. Charlotte was also very nervous and even afraid. This was unavoidable. However, just as his brain started to slow down, his brain suddenly heated up inexplicably. It felt like he had been shocked by an electric current. Then, his brain entered an unimaginably strange state. It was difficult to describe this sudden state with words. His brain was like an extremely precise instrument, and his thinking speed was also extremely fast. In 1 second, a normal person could only think of a phrase, a fragment of an event, or a person's face, and so on. However, in the same second, he seemed to be able to recall everything that had happened in the past month, in every aspect, big or small. Almost without thinking, a countermeasure appeared in his mind. At the same time, his body also reacted. He took off his clothes, tore off the microcommunication device clipped to his clothes, and threw it far away. Then he threw his clothes on the ground, unzipped it, and poured water on the clothes on the ground. Long Bing stared at Charlotte, dumbfounded. Although it was only his back, she could still see a sparkling stream of water between Charlotte's legs. Without guessing, she knew what Charlotte was doing. Charlotte did not look back. "Hurry up, do it." Long Bing's face turned red. She could not do something like pouring urine on her clothes. Charlotte said anxiously, "There's no time. Hurry up." Long Bing, of course, knew that doing this could alleviate the effects of the anesthetic gas. However, when she threw the microcommunication device away, threw her clothes on the ground, and was about to pull down her pants, she stopped. "You pour some. You should have said so earlier. There's no more." Charlotte had already pulled up the zipper. At this moment, Long Bing wanted to bang her head against the wall. Charlotte turned around and looked at her. He urged, "Hurry up. Do you want to die here? What's there to be embarrassed about? What's more important than your life?" Long Bing gritted her teeth and suddenly turned around. She pulled down her pants, squatted on the ground, and poured water on the clothes on the ground. She was also panicking and anxious. She did not think that the best way to deal with this situation would be for Charlotte to turn around and not her. The result was that she could not see Charlotte, but a shining white moon was facing Charlotte. Shoo. The line between life and death, the round white moon, the crisp sound of water, all these factors mixed together, it was a mess. After a few seconds, Long Bing suddenly remembered something. She suddenly turned around and screamed. Charlotte quickly looked away, picked up the clothes on the ground, and covered his mouth and nose. Then he turned around and pretended not to see anything. "I'll deal with you when we get out of here." Long Bing gritted her teeth. She stood up, pulled up her pants, and covered her mouth and nose with the urine-wet clothes. Although it was their own, the smell still made them frown. The anesthetic gas quickly rushed over and engulfed the two of them. The white anesthetic gas blocked her vision, and Long Bing could not see Charlotte. She tried to move to the side of the elevator door, but she bumped into Charlotte's arms. Then, she was embarrassed to find that Charlotte actually had that kind of reaction, and it was very strong. "Damn it! Who told you to let your imagination run wild?" Long Bing punched out. Charlotte grabbed her wrist. "Don't talk." Then, he pulled her hand and moved to the side of the elevator door. It was also surrounded by white fog, but it did not affect his vision at all. It was impossible for Long Bing to teach him a lesson in such an environment. The two of them came to the side of the elevator door and quietly waited for the door to open. Just then, Xiaoxian's voice came through the mini earphone. "Charlotte, why aren't you talking? Aren't you very arrogant? I'll give you a chance to scold me." Charlotte did not say anything, because he knew that Xiaoxian wanted to confirm the situation between him and Long Bing through conversation. If he spoke, he would expose his status. However, even if he opened his mouth to speak, Xiaoxian would not be able to hear him because he had already thrown away the mini earphone. He did not want Xiaoxian to hear any sound of him and Long Bing moving. "Although we are opponents, I want to say that I admire you very much. You are very smart and very capable. But it is useless because you are facing me." And Xiaoxian's voice was smiling. "Then, do you want to know what will happen to you?" Chapter 362. Thump. Long Bing, who was beside him, suddenly fell to the ground. "What happened to you?" Charlotte hurriedly squatted down to check on her. Long Bing's eyes were closed, and her chest was heaving slightly. She didn't respond at all. Charlotte slapped her face, but he couldn't wake her up. Charlotte touched the clothes that had fallen to the ground. They were still wet, and the smell was very strong. This discovery confused him. They had both used the wet clothes to deal with the anesthetic gas, but he didn't feel the slightest bit of anesthesia while she had fainted. Longbing's body was very healthy, and her resistance was very strong. Furthermore, she had systematic training. From this point of view, her ability to resist the anesthetic gas should be on the same level as his. What was going on? Charlotte suddenly remembered the scene where his brain had inexplicably heated up just now. Could it be related to that? And Xiaoxian's voice sounded in the mini earpiece again. Charlotte, say something. And Xiaoxian was still testing him, which showed how cautious and cunning she was. Charlotte ignored her. He shook Longbing's shoulder again, but Longbing still didn't respond. He gave up, and Xiaoxian's voice said, "Let me tell you, the Americans are very interested in you. Although I don't know why, I know that what awaits you must be a very miserable ending. Before I hand you over to them, I will cut off your characteristics as a man as the price for going against me." Charlotte listened to Xiaoxian talk to himself. He made a decision. He moved the clothes that covered his mouth and nose a little. He held his breath first, then very cautiously inhaled a little anesthetic gas. Although he only inhaled a little, the pungent smell of the anesthetic gas still made him frown and very nervous. However, apart from the unpleasant smell, he didn't feel the slightest bit of anesthesia. What was going on? After hesitating for a moment, Charlotte finally made a bolder attempt. He put down the wet clothes and took 2 deep breaths of the anesthetic gas. In the end, he still didn't feel the slightest bit of anesthesia. The results were out. The anesthetic gas had no effect on him. This result shocked even Charlotte himself. Although the specific cause had not been found, the AE capsule was shrouded in a layer of mystery. At this time, Xiaoxian's voice sounded from the mini earpiece again, but this time there was some ambient noise mixed in, and he was speaking in Korean. That guy must have fainted. There's no need to try anymore. No one can last more than a minute under this kind of military anesthetic, and 5 minutes have already passed. Stop releasing the anesthetic gas, or he'll die down there. It was a man who spoke in Korean. The Americans want that kid, and they want him alive. They can't kill him. On Soo-hyun said, "Kim Ji-hyun, go and turn off the anesthetic." After a pause, he added, "Che-guli, take a few people and follow me to the basement." Che-guli said, "Then what about the brat in the room?" On Soo-hyun said, after handing Charlotte over to the Americans, "Get rid of him and the woman in the basement." Apparently, On Soo-hyun was using Agent Little Woo's communicator to talk. He had already determined that both Charlotte and Long Bing had fainted, so he had no qualms about it at all. When Charlotte heard these voices, his anger rose, and he wished he could rush up and shoot on Soo-hyun twice. At this time, a phone rang from the mini earpiece again. Then, Charlotte heard on Soo-hyun's voice again after he was connected to someone. This time, he spoke in Mandarin. "Hello? Tianyin, I was just about to call you. I didn't expect you to call. Wangfu Hotel? There are a lot of reporters at the cocktail party? The cooperation between our two families does require media coverage. Okay, I'll be right there." It was Shinta Tianyin who called. On Soo-hyun said, "I have to go to Wangfu Hotel. You guys take that kid away and hand him over to the Americans. Get rid of this kid and that woman. Don't worry, young Master Dong. I know what to do." Che Gully said, "But are we just going to hand Charlotte over to the Americans? I just heard that you want to cut off his thing as the price for going against you. Do you want me to cut off his thing?" On Soo-hyun laughed. "Sure, but remember, don't kill him. Remember to stop the bleeding and reduce the inflammation after the amputation." "No problem," Che Gully said. Kim Ji-hyun said, "You men are so bad." Ha ha ha. Che Gully and Kim Ji-hyun laughed. After that, the mini earpiece quieted down. After the sound of a stop, there was no more sound. The ventilation in the basement stopped injecting anesthetic gas. Then, the exhaust fan started working, and the white anesthetic gas in the basement was quickly sucked out. The air returned to normal, but Long Bing and Lu Sheng did not wake up. This was normal. Even with the anesthesia on the operating table, the patient would need a few hours to recover, let alone this level of anesthesia. Charlotte took away Long Bing's pistol, then returned to the elevator door and sat on the cold floor. He was holding a pistol in both hands, but the left one was tucked beside his hip, so the people coming out of the elevator wouldn't be able to see it. Once he was ready, he closed his eyes and quietly waited for the moment to start the battle. A few minutes later, there was a sound from the elevator. It went up and then down. Charlotte took a deep breath and tried to relax his body and mind. Even though his eyes were closed, in his left eye, he could see the entire basement and the elevator door clearly. The elevator door suddenly opened, and Che Guli and Kim Ji-yeon walked out of the elevator. Behind them, 4 of On Soo-hyun's bodyguards also walked out of the elevator. One of them was carrying Agent Xiaowu. Another person was holding the computer that Agent Xiaowu used, as well as some spy equipment. It was not difficult to figure out their plan. They planned to kill Long Bing and Agent Xiaowu here, then destroy all the evidence. Finally, they would take Charlotte away and send him to the Americans. Che Guli first saw Long Bing and Lu Sheng lying on the ground. Then he saw Charlotte. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. I heard that this guy is very cunning, and his marksmanship is superb. Did he think that we would fight him with guns? Ha, that's funny. The most powerful weapon in the world is not the gun, but the brain. Kim Ji-yeon said with a smile. He thought that we didn't know that he had secretly placed a tracking device on young Master Dong's body. He chased after us like a dog, but fell into our trap. It seems that this kid is actually not as powerful as the Americans said. He's smart. He knows to wet his clothes with urine to fight against the anesthetic gas. Che Guli smelled the urine and saw the wet clothes on the ground. That's useless. Kim Ji-yeon waved her hand. You guys get to work. A bodyguard with a beard, a burly figure, and a beard smirked. Manager Kim, can we have some fun? This Chinese woman looks good. UB Asterisk starts. We don't have much time to waste, Kim Ji-yeon said with a frown. The bodyguard who spoke kicked Long Bing's thigh. Manager Kim, we don't need much time. Half an hour is enough. Don't you guys need time for surgery? You guys do the surgery, and we'll be people. Huh, go, a bunch of B asterisk starts, Kim Ji-yeon said impatiently. Out of the 4 bodyguards, 2 dragged Long Bing up from the ground, and 1 grabbed Long Bing's hand and dragged her to the boxing ring. As for the other 2 bodyguards, one threw Special Agent Xiao Wu on the ground, and the other put down Special Agent Xiao Wu's laptop and backpack. Then they followed them. Che Guli walked toward Charlotte. Kid, when you wake up, your gun will be gone. The guns of the 4 bodyguards were no longer in their hands. They walked about 5 meters away with their backs facing the elevator door. Now's the time. Charlotte did not even open his eyes. He raised his right hand slightly, pointed the muzzle at Che Guli's chest, and pulled the trigger. Bang! Blood splattered from Che Guli's chest, and he fell to the ground. But without waiting for him to move, Charlotte leveled the muzzle. Bang! Another shot. A bullet instantly pierced Che Guli's brain. This change was too sudden. Kim Ji-yeon only reacted when Che Guli was already dead. But her reaction was not as fast as Charlotte, who had been waiting for this moment. When she adjusted the muzzle and was about to shoot at Charlotte, a bullet had already flown out of Charlotte's muzzle and hit her knee. Her body fell to the ground uncontrollably. Before her body hit the ground, another bullet hit her head. In 2 seconds, the 2 leaders were dead. The 4 bodyguards then came back to their senses. The 2 at the back pulled out their guns, and the 2 at the front who were dragging Long Bing threw away Long Bing and got ready to pull out their guns. Charlotte suddenly stood up from the ground. His body was still moving. He reached out with both hands and moved his fingers. Bang, 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 bang. Out of the 4 bodyguards, the 2 at the back just happened to turn around, and a few bullets hit their bodies. Head, chest, and every shot was fatal. The 2 at the front did not even have the time to adjust their bodies before they were also knocked to the ground by a few bullets. Charlotte's marksmanship was not only superb when it came to using a sniper rifle, but he was also superb when it came to using a handgun. This was because his eyesight, his reflexes, and his body's ability to execute, etc., were all incomparable to ordinary people. The bodyguard with the beautiful beard was not dead yet. He struggled to raise his arm and shoot at Charlotte. Bang! A bullet flew over and instantly pierced his hand that was holding the gun. A finger, along with the gun, flew out of his hand, but he could no longer feel the pain. Charlotte walked over to him and looked at him coldly. Don't kill me. I still have wife and child. The bodyguard with the beard begged. Charlotte said in Korean, let your wife remarry. No, bang. A bullet flew out of the gun barrel and immediately opened a hole in the head of the bodyguard with the beard. Blood and brain matter spurted out. This scene was very disgusting, but Charlotte did not feel anything. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.